everyone, welcome to episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I'm Sherman Troy White of Podcast Media, and joining me are the men, the myths, the legend. We are the boys who lived through that 6-hour epic. Trilbee and Bandit.
Hello! Hello, everyone.
Yes.
And thank you to Josh for that new epic intro that we decided to give a whirl today. Thanks for making that, mate.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you to we've gotten a lot of fan support this week. You know, we got a lot of love for having Alicia Malone on the show last week. Thank you guys all for liking that. I was really worried about this because every time we bring on someone, they don't like them. So I think this is kind of the first where we brought on someone and they did. That's my thing. Like we got you know some comments on the podcast are creepier than others, but yeah, but we pretty much got a lot of love for Alicia, which was great. Apparently, there's this thing going around on Twitter, the 7 favorite YouTubers. We've been mentioned like 2 or 3 times, which was pretty cool. The Movie Mania podcast. Yeah, it's a thing on Twitter.
Yeah, Bandit, me and you have been mentioned together quite a few times, along with Film Brits co-host Sam Gavin. And we're there with Mr. Sunday Movies, Jeremy Johns. We've there's a lot of crossover, which is awesome.
Wow!
Except for Podcast Media, which I'm there by association, which is fine.
Exactly.
That makes me feel important, which is good because earlier in the week I tried to get a sponsorship for the podcast here, and they said no because you're not popular enough.
Oh. What do they know?
Screw you!
Should we say who that is?
Who I won't name who it is in case you change your mind later, but...
I mean, you know, we can call him out now. Can we give him a hint?
Here's a game, Bandit. Mention it in the Skype chat, I'll react, and the audience has to guess through my reaction.
Yay! Please.
Alright, fine.
Okay. But please, audience, humour us through this probably terrible game.
Whoops, I typed it in the wrong thing. There we go.
Good job. This game's great already. It's like my
you can tell Bandit's just woken up.
Oh, really? Oh, that's depressing.
That's not a unique sponsorship, Bandit. That's not unique.
No, you put it in
Don't fret. Don't worry about it.
Like everybody... Anyways.
Could you guys hear some... Could you guys hear like weird sounds on the recording?
No. Can you?
All right, good.
You're cutting out a little bit, but it's all good.
It's all right, cool. Because down the road's a cattle farmer, and every now and then when he brings his cows into like a shed on a certain side of his property, it can carry like over the hill, and you hear the sound of all the cows mooing. But you know, like when sound carries over a distance, it kind of distorts. So, like, every now and then I'll wake up and I'll just hear in the distance this sound. I'm like, either he's milking the cows or it's a zombie horde slowly making its way.
I'm expecting, like, considering what we're talking about in this podcast, you open up the window and it's just some weird hooded figure drinking cow blood.
It's just the cow milker just petrified on the floor. Oh my god. Well, it's weird. Okay, so you live... Okay, good to know. You live out there in the ranches of Australia where people can just move their cows around.
Okay, you're in the outback. That narrows it down.
That narrows it down. You live in the 80% of Australia that's just deserts. Oh, okay. All right, guys. Let's get to the movie news. Oh, time code's below. Now let's get to the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
Alright guys, so this is the movie news, in which case you talk about all the big movie news that came out this week, and really nothing else happened except for the fact that Star Wars dropped their new Rogue One trailer. Now, I've given my thoughts about this on my own separate YouTube channel, and surprisingly enough, I didn't get a lot of hate for it. But yes, Ben, I actually have grown out my hair because I didn't feel like cutting it this summer.
Yeah, you kind of did a reaction. I was really surprised to see.
It was
like every picture I've seen of you, you've like got a shaved head. This one, you've started to grow out a little bit, you know?
Yeah, well, I didn't feel like cutting it anymore because it's a hassle to do for like every week. Anyways, Trilbee, what did you think of the trailer?
Well, me and my new haircut thought it was pretty cool.
Sorry,
I
love your new haircut.
Oh, thank you. I'm not completely all over fanboying all over this trailer, but I thought it was pretty good. I'm excited more for Rogue One than I was The Force Awakens because it feels like a more original story. I think that they should have shown. I think they should have shown Darth Vader a bit more because I think the tease is so teasing that it's so insubstantial. If that makes sense, because I think they have to. Because there are some people who think, why have they recast Rey in this movie? Where's Finn and Poe? And I think Darth Vader does differentiate Rogue One from the Force Awakens and from Episode 8 and 9. So I think they need to show him more. They don't need to show him ripping apart a TIE fighter or using a rebel soldier as a human shield with the Force or whatever. They just need more than just 3 frames, half a breath, back to the camera, a bit more than that. But I think this was a solid trailer. I like the look of it a lot.
Mind you, Darth Vader using a rebel soldier as a human shield, like levitating it in front of him as they're shooting at him, and soldiers just getting shot, going, ah! That would be awesome. That would be really awesome. Be the movie,
But, like, the thing is, like, I feel like, us Star Wars fans, some more extreme than others, always seem to forget that we are in a bubble. And that, so when fans all go around and say, oh, we've got the perfect amount of Vader, we don't want to see any more Vader, it's always nice to remember that the average movie going public, or, for example, my dad or my grandmother, who are going to go see this movie probably because they like going to watch action movies, they do think it's a sequel to Episode 7. They do think it's this episode. They think it's the next movie in the saga. And so I think showing Vader, or better yet, just having a title card right at the trailer, being, you have the green band that always happens before a trailer, and then just say, I don't know, 40 years before The Force Awakens, and then have the trailer open. That way everyone knows that this is a prequel and it's not the next installment, because by not giving us anything, you're still leaving audiences confused. And I think while people think the Star Wars bubble is big, it's not as big as people may think, because you also need the general public to make all the money. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think of the trailer, Bandit?
I don't think we need to worry about like people being confused as to where this movie is set, because like it's Star Wars. Everyone's like, oh, have you seen this new one? Oh, I hear it's set before the original. So I don't think there's going to be anyone who's confused about that.
I feel like that, but that won't happen until after the movie is out, though, because that way people have seen it and been like, oh, no, it's actually a prequel. But they haven't conveyed that in any of the marketing, that it's actually set before The Force Awakens, with the exception of there just being Darth Vader and there being the Death Star. But there was a Death Star in the last movie. People are going to think, oh, they're bringing back the Death Star again. Because
it's not going to be mass hysteria. It's not mass hysteria or mass confusion. It's just giving the audience who aren't as in tune with film punditry and commentation and everything as we are, it just gives them an extra thing to latch onto. It just informs them and helps them inform what they're going to be seeing.
Yeah, right. People are going to walk in expecting this to be Episode 8 if they're not clarified, and when they don't get that, there may be some anger there, if especially if the movie's not as good as The Force Awakens. But overall, the trailer, were you guys impressed at all? Would you like it, or what'd you think?
Is it just me, or did Darth Vader's helmet look a little bit stumpy for some reason?
He looked like what was it? The Dark Helmet from Spaceballs.
Yeah, it looked like it had been. Yeah, it looked like the image had been squashed a bit or like widened out. I was like, it doesn't look right, but it's obviously
it's possible
Vader.
That they just for the trailer they've just zoomed in on an actual frame from the film, so maybe it just looks a bit odd. But I didn't think it looked that weird.
Maybe they shot it in IMAX. Maybe they shot it in IMAX and they had to compress the footage down. That's my theory. I hope so. Anyways,
I'm with you, Trilbee. I'm really looking forward to this, more so than Episode 8.
I love Felicity Jones. I think that Alan I don't know if she's going to be great in this film, but I do love other things that she's been in. I think Alan Tudyk is going to kill it as K2SO. You're a friend. I'm not going to kill you.
Yeah.
I think he's basically just a roided out C-3PO. The odds of navigating the asteroid field is 2-1.
We've never really seen an Imperial droid before, other than the one that shoots at Chewie, the Imperial program.
Yeah.
So we don't really know how they're different than our happy-go-lucky rebel ones of, goodness gracious me, this one's just I will crush you.
Uber Star Wars nerd Trey will tell you that in the comic books that they've been releasing over the last year and a half or so, we have seen Imperial droids, but you're right, in the films we've yet to see evil droids. And hopefully, because apparently this droid was an Imperial droid that they've turned good, which I like.
Yeah. Not the Trade Federation droids, they don't count as Imperial, so.
Oh, yeah, no. People are going to totally turn to those Roger guys. No, none of those guys.
You know.
Hands up, Jedi.
Blast 'em.
I hate this job. I hate those guys. Anyways, my excitement for Rogue One has dwindled quite a bit
I'm
since
really
seeing this
surprised you're not
trailer.
more excited about this.
You're
the biggest Star Wars fan here.
Exactly. I think that might be my problem, because I feel like I haven't been impressed by anything I'm seeing. I feel like the CG in this film, at least in the trailers, have not impressed me at all. I think the Death Star looks fine, but I think the Star Destroyers look very plasticky, look very model-y, which I'm sure is what they're trying to go for, but it still has to look good if it's going to be practical if it is. I think that the U-Wing, that new ship you see taking off with them inside of it, I think looks awful. That looks like something from Revenge of the Sith. I was not a fan of the way that looked. Felicity Jones looks really wooden in all her line delivery. Maybe that's just the way they edit the trailer together, because she is a talented actress, but I didn't get behind that at all. None of the jokes have really landed for me. It's like, I will not kill you. I'm like, okay. I wasn't entertained by that line. Nothing's really impressed me, and they should be showing Vader more. I don't know. This movie something smells fishy to me. I don't know. My sense is going off.
I think character-wise, that nobody here really stands out. I'm not watching this trailer thinking, I can't wait to see what this character's like or what they do. I'm more thinking, I can't wait to see this visual. I can't wait to see the Rebel using the rocket launcher on that walker. I can't wait to see Felicity Jones walking towards that TIE fighter on the platform.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. I'm not yet sold on this new ragtag Guardians of the Galaxy knockoff characters.
Yeah. I wasn't really sold on the visuals either, because you say that shot of the guy using the rocket launcher on the ACT, whatever it's called, the new AT-AT, and it's not. I wasn't impressed because, again, I've seen that before. I've seen that in the game Battlefront. When the Force Awakens trailers were out, you got to see that shot of, the Falcon, dodging and weaving through the Star Destroyers. We hadn't seen something like that before. We didn't get, with the exception of like stormtroopers on a beach, kind of like Normandy, which was kind of cool. I'm not saying I'm not going to go see this movie. I'm still getting my tickets 2 months in advance. I'm not as excited. I'm not as pumped as everyone else seems to be for this film. Are you about to yell at me, Bandit?
Why is it that you say that for this Rogue One of like, I've seen an AT-AT before, I've seen an AT-AT.
Oh my god!
I've seen this before. I've seen that before. But you don't say that for Force Awakens, which is literally A New Hope all over again.
Because it's the continuation of that story. Rogue One is promising us a completely original, completely new idea, and all we're getting is things that we've seen before.
Well, but all the stuff you're mentioning is like, it's not story-wise. It's just the fact that you're like, oh, look, that's a vehicle from Star Wars. I've seen that before. I don't want to see that, even though I should, because it's set exactly in that time period.
All right, listen, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm not excited.
The story's new. It's a whole new story.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure the movie's going to be great. I just wasn't impressed by this trailer.
Well, not the main character. He seems to be like Rey again. But apart from that, it seems to be a new story.
Absolutely not. She seems like a female Han Solo. I think we've had this conversation
and that was
before.
Rey, grew up alone.
Rey was not a female Han Solo.
All that stuff. It's like
You're wrong. That's okay.
Crying out loud, Trey, have some empathy. Many Bothans died to get us this trailer.
Yes.
No, that was Return of the Jedi.
I know that's a different Death Star. I just couldn't resist the joke.
For the 14,000th person to make that joke this week, Trilbee. Sorry,
gosh.
Bandit's made me just a tad bit salty because he's crapping all over my non-enjoyment of this trailer. I didn't say I didn't like the trailer.
It's just weird when something is a total rip-off. You're like, yay, it's the most original thing ever. And then when a new story is actually made, set in this universe, you're like, It seems too much like the other stuff because visually it's very similar.
That's not at all what I'm saying. You're putting words. I never said that The Force Awakens was a completely new and original story. I simply said that it needed to be a quote-unquote rehash of New Hope because they had to get everyone back on board. I'm not saying that this Van is doing what he does.
I feel like
I haven't talked about your DC video yet. I know.
I feel like I'm listening to a Movie Mania podcast before I came along.
Yes. Every time Star Wars gets brought up, it's just like negative, like slew, just trash, just thrown at each other.
No, but I'm still looking forward to the film. I'm just not I'm not the person who's going to buy tickets day one or buy tickets 2 months in advance. I just think I need a bit more from these characters and maybe a bit more humor and more moments to relate to them. But I disagree on the visuals. I think that although we are still 4 months away, so there's maybe a couple of unfinished shots here and there. I think
then
visually,
don't put them out. Then don't put them out to the public.
No, I'm with you there.
You have to put trailers
I'm with you
out.
there.
Yeah, but not the unfinished shots. If they're not done, don't release them to the public. There's a reason they haven't released the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer yet, because it's not done.
They don't look
Trailers need to have
pre-viz
the
or
money
anything.
shots in there so that people go see them.
If the money shots aren't done, then why are you going to show someone an unfinished shot if it looks terrible?
Because you got to show them something, and it's just a trailer.
Yeah,
Who
and
cares?
show us some stuff that's finished.
That's just the way it is, Trey. You know how it is.
Yeah,
you
it's
can't
not a
say
great
trailer.
scenario.
Who cares?
to
How you
another
say that it's
special.
a
You can't judge special effects from a trailer. We all know that.
Well, yes, you can. What do you mean you can't judge special effects from a trailer? What's
No,
that
you
mean?
can't, because Jurassic World had the crowd running from pterodactyls before they even put the pterodactyls in. That's why you can't judge a movie CGI off the trailer.
Unless it's Ghostbusters.
This movie shot the trailer is nothing but CGI. So want me to sit there and say, "Oh, it's good." It doesn't matter if the CGI sucks
Actually,
because
Yeah,
it's not
it
going
was
to be in
good
the movie.
CGI. I thought it looked
That
fantastic.
was pretty cool.
That
That was
first
a
shot
pretty
in
good-
the trailer, the ship
That's a
hovering
matter
over
of
that
taste.
channel, I was like, oh, that looks great. That looks so
There's a
great.
really cool shot that's in like a desert market, and there are stormtroopers on a small tank. I thought the tank, obviously a practical effect, that looked pretty cool. That looks like something I'd love to see.
I really
It
liked
looks better
everything with
than
Donnie
Force
Yen.
Awakens, I reckon,
I think
actually.
everything with Donnie Yen in the trailer was great. There, I'll say that. I'm not.
cool.
Here's what's here's what's going to end up happening too, because the movie's going to come out and I'm going to love it, and you guys are probably going to be mildly disappointed, because that's just how things work with these trailers. I'm putting money on it. You're going to be like, it was all right. It could have done this and this, but I'm going to be like, it was the best thing ever, because that's how I am with Star Wars things. Apparently, except this trailer. I was really, when the trailer finished too, you saw my reaction on camera. I was like, man, this is not going to be a fun experience talking about. The movie still looks like it's going to be, a good war film, but I think I don't know. So there's something about it that just doesn't seem right to me. But we'll find out when we see the movie, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Now
we can always. I guess we'll have to wait to see if it tanks as badly as Suicide Squad did in the second week. Segue. I'm assuming we're talking about that news story.
I don't know where you were going there.
We can. Let me look. I'm not sure how much it made in the second week. You two stall while I look it up.
It dropped 68%.
Hey! I think I called that.
Well, Friday
Friday
to Friday was a 79% drop. I don't know if they've added up the whole weekend yet. Is that the figure?
That's like I'm looking at it right now. That's like Fan 4-stick levels of drop. Good lord.
Yeah,
that's Batman v Superman levels of drop.
Yeah, because Batman v Superman was 81%, and that was the biggest drop ever. So from Friday to Friday, it was 79%. So if it picked up over the weekend, hopefully it wasn't as bad. So yeah, it probably did end up like you said.
Oh yeah, it dropped about 70% to 43 million this weekend, which people will say is not a big deal because it opened so big, but you gotta realize that a movie like Force Awakens only had like a 42% drop. If a movie's good, people are going to come back and see it 2-3 times. Apparently people aren't doing that with Suicide Squad, which means that we're right if you didn't like it, which I did not. But we'll get to that later.
It also doesn't help that the movie's not going to be released in China, which means this second week drop is the last thing that Suicide Squad wanted.
Wait a minute, it's not going to be released in China?
No, Suicide Squad's not getting a China release.
Really?
Good.
Why? For the same reason?
Because it'll make a lot of money if it is.
I think it's got to do with like Enchantress being a supernatural creature and how you can't have ghosts in realistic
Same
environments
as with
like a
Ghostbusters. The
city.
Chinese don't like that, do they?
No, it's because Joker's a crazy sex panther is why. They were so offended by the fact that they ruined the Joker that they just did not want to put it in their country. No, it's
maybe,
okay.
but last I heard it wasn't getting a release in China.
Well, if the movie was good, it probably would have done well without China, because I don't think Deadpool was released in China, was it?
It wasn't. No, and if Deadpool was released in China, you can guarantee it would have outgrossed Batman v Superman.
It may have hit $1 billion, because it was pretty close. It ended at around 800 million, didn't it? So it did really well without China. So sometimes China isn't necessary unless your name's Warcraft. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the news I have here, guys. Unless you want to jump into the homework.
Well,
wait.
Just another thing. Sorry, on Friday, Suicide Squad lost out to Sausage Party at the box office. That movie's actually doing really well. That movie's had like the highest R-rated comedy opening in like the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I still plan to see that. Yeah,
me too.
We don't get it for another couple of weeks, which is annoying.
I'm just excited to turn.
There is one last story.
Yep.
Yeah, the final nail in the coffin of the Ghostbusters remake that you guys love so much has finally been driven in.
I don't love Ghostbusters, Ed. I think it's fine. Christ,
I think it's pretty good.
Thank God.
Actually, not helping.
Well, what are you referring to specifically?
Just financially, it just absolutely tanked colossally. Like, I think it figured out that, like, it didn't even make it.
It's a little bit of hyperbole.
No, it did. I can't remember the facts or figures.
They lost $70 million, Trilbee. It's
no,
a little bit of
$70 million in the red. So, goodbye,
$70 million in the red, yes.
Good riddance to you. You deserve it.
I'd like to throw it out there that Bandit's only commenting on this because he wanted Ghostbusters to fail. So let's just throw it out there.
Ghostbusters to fail.
I didn't write this down. This is Bandit's word.
Good, Sony. I'm glad it failed. Let it marinate for a while. Let it be a life lesson to you.
What if
take a look at yourself, Sony. Take a look at what you're doing.
Couple of things. Right. Yes. In terms of when it comes to like the marketing and the distribution costs, it would seem that Ghostbusters is going to lose Sony about $70 million. That's the story. However, the Sony rep did come out and say they actually spoke a lot of sense in that when it comes to toys, merchandising, and when it comes to all of the ancillary stuff that comes with a movie's release, that it's not even close to a $70 million loss, although they didn't specify. Mattel, who a few weeks ago they were doing a lot of the Ghostbusters merchandising and a lot of the toys and action figures, said that the sales had vastly exceeded expectations. So whether or not Ghostbusters is a complete bomb is a difficult question to answer.
No, it's not. It is a complete bomb. It's absolutely a complete bomb.
It's not a John Carter bomb. It's not a Lone Ranger bomb, but it has lost money.
Yeah. Well, like, there's a bomb in terms of we wanted to make this much money, but we didn't quite get there. And then there's a bomb in terms of this is how much money the movie cost, and we're $70 million short of that. Okay, that's the BFG. that's a bigger bomb where it cost about the same as Ghostbusters, and it didn't even make its initial production budget back. Whereas Ghostbusters did make its production budget, but it didn't cover marketing and stuff. But no one's saying, "Oh, BFG is a colossal failure." I'm just saying. And also, and in other news, the Scarface is being remade again.
Yes,
that was a new story.
Scarface.
I look forward to.
Al Pacino's Scarface. That was a remake. That wasn't the first one. The Howard Hughes one in black and white was the original.
So you're saying that if Ghostbusters was remade again, it would be okay?
Nope.
Yes, I'm actually fine with them doing Ghostbusters again, just to see what would happen.
Not with this cast.
I kind of want to see what would happen if I know this isn't the only reason Ghostbusters is dead.
It's dead, guys. It's over. You lost. Ghostbusters is a colossal failure.
You lose. Good.
We will never see it again. It is now Voldemort. It is the name that shall not be spoken of. Despite all your apologetics, it's a huge, colossal disaster.
You know what? I was going to make a joke, but before Bandit interrupts me again, let's just move on to the homework section. Goodbye.
I'm buying Ghostbusters on Blu-ray.
Me too.
You'll be the only one. So.
I'm going to mail you a copy, Bandit, just to see what you do with it.
Yeah, I'll buy Bandit a copy.
Gonna go. Everyone tweet Bandit their digital HD copies of Ghostbusters when they get them.
Nobody will bought them, so they won't.
If you do buy Ghostbusters on Blu-ray, tweet Bandit the digital HD code. Oh man! All right, let's get to the homework. All right.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment.
Your homework is to listen to some real music, get inspired.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Down with homework?
All right, guys. So this is the homework section. Okay, so we talk about the movies that we were either assigned to see or have recently seen. Bandits. You and I, we finished that Netflix show that everyone was talking about for a bit called Stranger Things.
Yes.
Now we're gonna try to review this here, but here's my thing. To all you listeners out there, I suggest to you that the best way to watch Stranger Things is to simply not know anything about it and just go in blind. I say as I'm about to review the film.
Yeah, because Trilbee hasn't seen it, so we'll go no spoilers.
I've not seen any, which is ironic because I'm currently working for Netflix at the moment, so I've not seen any of Stranger Things. So
unless your bosses are listening, in which case, yes, you have seen every single thing on Netflix because it's a wonderful service.
I've already seen Luke Cage. It was terrific. Tell you what, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, wait for all of this Stranger Things talk to blow over, and I'll see you folks in a minute.
Okay. All right. Bye, Trilbee. See you in a second.
See you in 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, now that Trilbee's gone, Bandit, without any spoilers, how awesome is Stranger Things?
Oh, it was fantastic. This show is so good that, like, this show is so good, the child actors are actually good actors. That's how good it is.
Not at first, in my opinion.
I know you'd find something to hate about the child actors. You always hate child actors. But the child actors were fantastic.
They got better, and my problem really wasn't with the actors. It was more with the characterization of certain characters. Sure, yeah, like I got really upset with the black kid about 80% of the series. I'm like, why did they have to make the black cynic? I'm just saying. But anyways,
he was the real skeptic, wasn't he? Like
he was awful, and like it was weird because and the show is about, without giving anything away, the show is about. It's basically an homage to the classic 80s Spielbergian era. Yeah. It's everything Super 8 should have been, essentially.
It's an evil E.T. I'm sure many other people have said that.
Evil E.T., Goonies, mixed in with a bunch of maybe some Close Encounters, and I think that... I think that
he was the skeptic, but he was like the skeptic way more than he needed to be. Even when he's actually seeing stuff with his own eyes, he's like, "Nope, don't believe it. Not going to be." It's like, come on, man.
The show starts very early on by showing that these guys are clearly big fans of fantasy and sci-fi, Star Wars toys everywhere. Like they're playing like a 10-hour game of Dungeons and Dragons. So you could he should be able to have an imagination. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, I don't know, that really bugged me. But that being said, the show is just incredible. I loved pretty much everything about it. David Harbour, who plays the sheriff in the show, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite character actors. He's becoming one of my favorite that guys. Because every time he shows up, I'm like, oh, hey, it's that guy. He was in that Liam Neeson movie, A Walk Among the Tombstones. I think that was the first time I saw him in something. And then he was in that Johnny Depp movie, Black Mass. He shows up in bits and pieces of different roles, and I'm like, man, he's great. I'm happy that he's finally getting to get into the spotlight. But yeah, great show. I love that show.
It's a really good mystery as well.
Yes,
because like not just like the main mystery as like what's going on with the Stranger Things. But also, like, there's certain stuff with certain characters, and, like, like, one of them's, like, a girl, and she's with this guy, and you're like, oh, he's going to be the jerk character. But it goes in directions you don't think, and you're like, oh. And
that's my thing, too.
Without giving any spoilers, there's one moment where there's a guy taking photos. Let's just say that. I won't say anymore. There's a guy taking photos. And then I think, oh, this is going to set up for, like, people see the photos and then blame him for other people that have gone missing because he was there just before the person got missing. It's really hard to mention without... the scene I'm talking about, right?
You're on the right track. You're being as vague as you can, which I like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because first episode is this guy's little brother disappears. Missing child. And this guy then, when he's out looking for his brother, takes photos of someone else from the woods, and then immediately after he takes the photo, the girl he took the photo of goes missing. And I'm like, someone's going to find his camera and go, he must have killed his brother and then killed this girl, because it's pretty coincidental that he's taking photos of all these people disappearing.
I have to stop.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
You've already given away too much.
It didn't.
So. You've already given away too much.
No, I didn't.
It's okay. I think
literally the first thing that happens in the first episode is his brother disappears. That's it.
Sure, But I do think that going back to the cliche about the apparently douchey guy that someone dates,
Yeah.
I thought that 2-3 episodes in, I was telling myself, I'm like, oh man, it's a great aesthetic, it's a great great story, great mystery, good characters, but the characters themselves are kind of cliche. I've kind of seen all this before, but I feel like they only did that, the creators, they only did that so they could establish what kind of people what kind of characters these people are, and establish the world around them before subverting a lot of the expectation of the characters. Because there's a girl in it, there's a teenage girl you think she's going to be this average teenage girl, but it kind of gets flipped on its head, and you realize, oh no, she's just an actual person. These are all, with the exception of the black kid, they all feel like real people. And I was a big fan of that. By the time the show's over, I was like, oh man, these are all real actual characters, with the exception of some maybe evil white-haired people, but yeah, I am. What would you give it out of 10? What would you give it a show out of 10?
By the way, again, no spoilers, but when the bad guy gets his comeuppance, I would have liked if he got a bit more gory comeuppance. I think he deserved it at that point. He'd done bad stuff. You really wanted to see that guy pay for what he'd done. Which he does,
the bad guy gets his comeuppance by a certain character. I wish it was done by someone else, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
We can do a bit of a spoiler talk later on in the weeks, in next week or something.
Sure.
But what would you give the show out of 10?
Oh man, I'd give it like a 9.5 out of 10.
Hey, we agree on something.
Really?
Yay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I was pushing for 9.5 as well. Yeah.
The only reason I wouldn't give it 10 out of 10 is because the nature of the story is there's different characters sort of looking into different aspects of this mystery, but they don't know that each other are all investigating the same thing. They think they're investigating different things, and it all sort of combines together. The only reason I don't give it a full 10 out of 10 is there's, for the most part, it makes sense in the story that the people don't go to each other and say, you saw this happen, I saw this happen, we can figure it out. And for the most part, it makes sense. There's only one moment where you're like, this guy really should have mentioned this to the other person, but didn't.
Does it involve someone leaving a school at night? Because that was my one big problem. I'm just saying, if you're going to go do something with a girl at night after leaving a school, you think you would tell certain characters that are also in that school, maybe to help you with doing you think you want to go do. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. I feel like, especially if a certain character can.
I was referring to a certain
character can.
Sorry, go on.
I would say, especially if a certain character can do certain things, I'm thinking maybe you should send this character with you to do this and this when you leave that school. But whatever, yeah.
No, I was referring to with Winona Ryder and the camera guy, her older son.
Yeah.
He learns certain stuff and knows his mum has been looking for certain stuff, and you're like, absolutely. You should really go to your mum and say, guess what? You're not crazy.
Before she has an aneurysm.
Saw this too, but he doesn't.
She was she was on the brink of literally having a brain aneurysm and falling out, having some seizures. So yes, definitely go to your mother. That is definitely having issues.
But
but overall,
that one
fantastic.
Reason is the only reason I don't give it 10 out of 10. But apart from that, I think it was fantastic.
I think it was around episode 4 or 5, right after we briefly mentioned it, I think off air, where the show took this turn. I was just like, I'm loving this. I'm loving every second of this. Pretty much from episode 4 on, I think it's some of the best TV I've seen in a long time. TV is getting great right now, and I'm really happy for it. It's a shame I don't like a lot of the CW stuff. But that's neither here nor there.
When I started watching it, it was 10:30 p.m. and I couldn't get to sleep, so I was like, I'll just grab the iPad. I was like, everyone's talking about this. I'll just watch the first episode, see if it's any good.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I'm 4 episodes in, and it's 3 in the morning.
I binged it in about a day. I
saw it 2 days, and the next day I watched all the rest of it as well, and I was like, wow, that's a great show.
I finished it at about 7:30 in the morning. I woke up, I just stayed up throughout the night to watch it, and I woke up and the sun was out. I was like, oh. Whoops! Yeah. I had something to do at 9 o'clock. I was like, "Well, I'm not going to get any sleep today." Yeah, but yeah, it's a great series, and if Trilbee's there, which I'm not sure if he is.
I'm here. I've been listening for the past couple of minutes. I just didn't want to interrupt any flow.
Sure.
No, it's okay, Trilbee. Yeah, but it's a great series. You should all check it out. Stranger Things is on Netflix. Yeah. It's probably available at other places if it's not on Netflix.
You should watch it, Trilbee, and then we could all do a spoiler talk. next week.
yeah,
that'd be great. I'd love to do a spoiler talk.
I really do want to watch it. It seems right up my alley. It seems like something Super 8 wanted to be but couldn't be.
It's like the best parts of Super 8, and it follows and just mashes them together, and it's great. It's it follows like the 80s horror aesthetic. I think works, but it's also like Ben said, it's like evil ET. But oh man, all right. So that's Stranger Things. Trilbee, you saw Suicide Squad,
sorry,
and
one
you
last
were not.
thing. One last
Oh,
thing.
wait.
I don't think any other reviews have mentioned this. I love that they call it Stranger Things, because there's that saying where people always go, well, stranger things have happened. There's that saying. So this show is like,
okay.
This is the Stranger Things that people are referring to whenever they say that.
like you go to a town and someone's just like, oh, hey, they've got mystery. It's like, well, it's not the strangest thing that's happened here. Oh, yeah.
Or like people go,
that is kind of clever.
Stranger Things has happened. The show's like, well, this is the Stranger Things. Very clever. I don't know if anyone else mentioned that in other reviews, but I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna review it, but I was like, I'm gonna give way too much. But anyways, so Trilbee, you saw Suicide Squad. You weren't here last week to talk about it, unfortunately. Why don't you give us your thoughts while you're drinking your tea?
Well, yeah, going on from Bandit's point of why a show or a movie is named a certain thing, the Suicide Squad is named Suicide Squad because at one point Will Smith's like, we're like some kind of Suicide Squad. Anyway.
And you wanted to commit suicide? Yeah, me too. No, it's okay.
I thought you were going to say that DC might have committed suicide with this movie.
They just put a bullet in their skull, yep.
Now, okay, it's the whole fallout from this film has been fascinating to watch, whether it's the people saying critics aren't real human beings, or and all of that. And all of that anti-critic backlash and all of that stuff. And I think what's amazing is that respect to David Ayer, who is stuck by the film, because he's saying, no, that this movie is my cut. This is my version of the film.
He wants to work again.
Yeah, even though it's clear that, obviously he doesn't want to do a Josh Trank and commit, like, career suicide. But I can't imagine any filmmaker worth their salt looking at that finished film that's out playing in theaters right now and thinking, yeah, that's good enough. I can't imagine anyone because, right, first 5 minutes, we've got 3 soundtrack licensed music tracks back to back. Every scene transition is like a soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet actual money that there's a memo in the offices of Warner Brothers somewhere saying, we want a licensed track like Suicide Squad. Or words to that effect. I'm willing to bet actual physical cash dollars that there's something like that happening with Warner Brothers. I think it was a sneeze from Bandit.
Okay, say, is everything all right? I thought someone took Bandit out of his chair. I was like, oh god, someone call somebody.
I think Amanda Waller pressed the suicide button and his head blew up. You didn't like the film? Oh, damn it, wrong button. I killed Bandit.
Yeah, a bullet just came in, ricocheted off the wall, and hit me in the head. Oh, wait, no, Will Smith doesn't do that in this movie, even though his character specializes in that kind of thing.
He does
it once.
Deadshot gets 1 trick shot in the film, but he gets 3 introductions.
Yeah.
What's the priority there?
Yeah. Look, it definitely shows that whatever's wrong with the DC universe, it actually goes deeper than just Zack Snyder.
Yes.
Because he produced, but he didn't direct this. So obviously the studio's at fault too. It's not all on Zack Snyder.
No, I think it would be interesting. I'm really interested in seeing what David Ayer's original cut was, because this film it's apparently been edited by the ones who did the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer.
Yeah.
Which just shows how reactionary that Warner Brothers are being. Now, I get why people are really going to bat for this film and defending it, because there are some parts about it that really, really work. Like Margot Robbie's performance. I don't like the character for reasons I'll explain, but the performance is great. Will Smith is charming. Viola Davis is amazing as Amanda Waller. I
would have liked to see Oprah do it. I think Oprah would have done a great job. I'm being serious. Like Oprah can be a talented actress. I think.
Honestly, yeah.
I think.
Do you reckon she could have been better though? That was a pretty good Amanda Waller.
Viola Davis captured maybe the evilness of Amanda Waller, but I feel like the calculating control wasn't, I think, fully captured. Like when you think about Amanda Waller, especially because I've been watching Justice League cartoon on Netflix again, and like when you see Amanda Waller, it's like she has control of everything in the room. I never really felt that ever while watching Viola Davis on screen, except the scene where she shoots people, which Amanda Waller wouldn't do, which we talked about last week. But yeah.
But yeah,
Could you buy Oprah, though, as this intelligent Amanda Waller? I just couldn't buy it.
Are you calling
you
Oprah
get
stupid?
A mission. You get a mission. You get a mission.
I mean, the memes would be there, sure. You get a bump in your head and you get a bump in your head, but the memes would be...
You are going to Arkham Asylum.
Everyone look under your seats. You'll see a bomb under there. No, I mean, I'm sure that the memes would be there and the jokes would be made, but I think Oprah's talented enough to really pull that off. I think she can go to a dark place inside Oprah, and we could see, because I like to see Oprah in that role. I think because she was rumored at one point to be in there. I was like, yes, that's perfect.
She probably
Viola
wanted
Davis
too
wasn't
much money or something, so they were like, oh, it's not worth it.
Yeah, well,
Viola
it's
Davis
Oprah.
is... Viola Davis is just as talented, if not more so, but she'll work for less, so it worked out.
Maybe they went to her and said, "Here, we'll give you Tom Hardy's share of the money now that he's not going to do the movie."
Oh yeah, he was involved, wasn't he? He probably
Do you
should
reckon he
look at the
dodged a
editing.
bullet in this one?
Oh, damn right,
No.
he dodged a Deadshot bullet.
Yeah,
Damn right he did.
he sure
He
did.
probably would. No, they just would have cut all his best parts out. So, I mean, I guess.
Maybe.
Listen,
But-
I don't want to see Ayer's version solely because I think I said this last week as well. I'm sick of seeing two different movies every time DC puts something out.
I'm with you there. I
agreed.
wish that we had the David Ayer version. I'd like to see it as a curiosity, but we cannot have a cinematic universe that is reliant on extended director's cuts.
Amen.
Yes.
That is the
Yes.
death nail of
Preach.
continuity.
Yes.
But I think the moment that's so indicative of what's wrong with this film is when, minor spoilers for towards the end of the film, is when Harley...
It's the only
Fair enough, but
spoiler.
okay, so the Joker is going to rescue Harley Quinn, and the helicopter arrives, and she gets on the helicopter. And what happens is that the helicopter gets shot down, Joker pushes Harley Quinn out of the helicopter, she safely lands, and then the Joker's presumed to be dead in the helicopter crash. The next scene with Harley Quinn has her taking off a neck brace that says pudding on it. And that moment makes no sense based on what has just happened, because she's like, oh, Joker's gone for it or something. Like, wouldn't you want to keep it if the Joker had died and tried to heroically save her? Now, the original cut allegedly had the Joker push Harley Quinn out of the helicopter as an act of violence. That is why she takes the neck brace off. But she has the exact same reaction to the original version of the scene in the final product of the movie with the alternative cut. It's an absolute hodgepodge mess. It's moments like that. Character arcs don't make sense. There are some moments when Harley Quinn and Deadshot are talking in the staircase where Harley Quinn goes to say something and then the scene cuts. The scene edits to the next moment, indicating that, yeah, this has just been hacked together in the editing room. Jared Leto's Joker is the worst live-action Joker by a wide margin. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah,
like at the top, you've got maybe Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, Cesar Romero, and it's not even close. It's like, to quote Muppets Most Wanted, then spacebar, 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 Jared Leto.
Yes, I love that.
Whenever I see Jared, like, I'm able to kind of make that conclusion, because while we had Tom Holland and people are saying he's one of the best Spider-Men after 10 minutes, Jared Leto does play a plot-specific role in this film, and he gets a bit more screen time, I think, a little bit more, as opposed to just action beats. We get to see more of his character. And whenever I see Jared Leto in this film, I don't see the Joker. I see Jared Leto insecure as hell, trying to act crazy. He's trying so hard, you never see a character. You just see Jared Leto in punk cosplay.
I agree.
And it's so desperate and so trying. Like when he's on the floor surrounded by a circle of knives, which just reeks of trying too hard.
Oh, God,
and when he's like, would you die for me?
It could have been a cool visual. It could have been a cool visual.
That was so awkward, that scene, wasn't it? Even like the way the conversation ends and then he lays back and goes, ha, 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 ha. It's like, that was ridiculous when you watch it, the actual thing, because he's laying back and laughing, but you could still see the guy just sort of standing there in the corner of the room going, okay.
I'm really excited for the How It Should Have Ended version of this, by the way. The How It Should Have Ended is going to happen right with this movie.
Like the guys
Batman
in the
Superman,
corner of
they
the room
killed
going,
it.
are you doing that
You
for
done?
me, or...
Are you doing that for the trailer?
Trailer shot? Yeah, that's the one. Are you doing that for the
Why
trailer?
are you
Okay,
doing
I'm gonna
that?
go.
The camera's there. Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, right. How it should have ended, guys. Are gonna have a field day with this movie. I'm so excited. What were you saying, Shelby? There.
The thing about the Joker and Harley's relationship is that it is purely a abusive relationship. And Harley is infatuated with the Joker, and the Joker sees her as a plaything. But the movie plays it up as more just a twisted, pure romance, and I think that's just a fundamental misunderstanding.
Well, here's my thing, right? So Kevin Smith said this in his interview about the Harley Quinn relationship. He said that in his review that he spoke to Paul Dini at the premiere of Paul Dini being one of the creators of the animated series and therefore Harley Quinn. He worked on that, and so he ran to him at the premiere, and he said that Paul Dini said that at certain moments he was in tears because he was so enamored with this new take on the Harley Quinn Joker relationship. So apparently the creator of the story itself is completely fine with how they did the characters. I just want to give that context.
Yeah, that's fine. I can see how it could have worked if more screen time had been devoted to it, because it's such a fine balance. You've got to, because Harley Quinn, she's not an idiot. She's a psychiatrist. She's professionally trained. She's a smart person.
Got a PhD. Yeah.
Yes, she's got a PhD. You have to show how someone like that can be manipulated by the Joker, as opposed to, I want a machine gun, and then she loves him forever. It's so tacked on. You never get to the root of the relationship.
How does a machine gun get you out of Arkham Asylum? That's all I'm asking. It's like what did you like? You need more than a machine gun to get out of Arkham, because AKs last like 4 seconds if you shoot the full round. But anyways,
we mentioned last week like the scene where like Joker crashes the car in the water and he leaves Harley in there. We say because Batman has to go and save her. And we're like, well, that he would just leave Harley in the car because he knows Batman's going to save her, and that would give him the chance to get away. That's perfect for their relationship. So, like, as you were talking about that helicopter scene, I was thinking, like, would have made sense if he saves Harley, Batman's grappling hook hits the helicopter, and he does it again. He pushes Harley out of the helicopter, so Batman has to save her again, just so Joker can get away. And then she's like, nah, I'm done, and take off the pudding necklace.
Yeah, but then why would Batman not help? But then why would Batman not help with the Enchantress problem at the subway?
Yeah,
if he was there.
Why would you?
That's why you shouldn't have Enchantress as the villain, have Joker as the villain.
No,
would have been so much better.
I think the issue
have it set in Gotham.
When you have Enchantress as the villain of the Suicide Squad movie, even though the Joker is right there, kind of indicates the big problem with Warner Brothers and the DC cinematic universe. They're overthinking it. They're overthinking it. Well, you don't need this Africa thing in Batman v Superman to indicate why Batman would hate Superman. When you have Metropolis right there, you don't need the Enchantress like a Superman-worthy villain. And then you send Harley Quinn with her baseball bat to go fight Enchantress and a guy who shoots good.
Yeah.
Like, why? You have a man
the fire god can work in theory, sure.
But then you have a man who throws
around the first 2 acts. Yeah.
You have a man who throws 2 boomerangs over the course of the movie and steals the Deadpool pink unicorn joke. So his superpower is stealing jokes from other films. You have Killer Croc who swims one time. He's got nothing to do, Killer Croc, in this film. He should be the muscle. And it's weird how he's got this really big crocodile head on this little body. He should be bulked up a bit. He doesn't need to be Hulk size, but he needs to be a bit bulkier. A little bit.
Well, like, because I think, like, the animated film Assault on Arkham that came out a couple years ago, which everyone's now making comparisons to, even though I think me and Bandit have been talking about that film for a few months now. I think...
that was a great film. That could have worked easily if they just did that.
I think it starts out with the Riddler, doesn't it? It starts out with Amanda Waller needing to go get the Riddler for some reason. I think the Riddler's done something, and Joker just happens to be in Arkham Asylum when the Riddler's messing about. So, like, I don't know, maybe cast. I don't know.
You know what? Just side point, but I love that bit in that movie where Amanda Waller's talking to the Riddler, and because she's buying time for her team to get there, she's bothering to answer all of his questions. And then once she knows that his team is there, the next riddle she asked, she just answers it immediately, and he's like, "Oh, you heard that before?" She's like, "No, it's called Google, idiot."
She's like, "No, I've got Google for the rest of the world." I love, it's a good line. The movie opens with that.
I love that. Like, Riddler in the 21st century would not work. Everyone would just Google.
I like that. I like the scene where it's a bit of a twist moment in the film, but I like it when the Joker thinks he's killed somebody with a gun, and it's not, and he just thinks, best gun ever. I think that's a really funny scene in that film.
That's right.
That's animated.
But it's a bit of a twist in the film, so I won't give anything away. But and then you've got Katana, who in the trailer we see the sword stealing souls, but in the film the sword steals no soul. She has nothing to do in this film.
She didn't kill anybody with the soul. She killed with those faceless, weird, CG, poorly rendered things.
Why are they blueberries?
Why are they?
Why? What?
Why are they all violet?
It honestly feels like the art department team who came up with that just sneezed on the page, went to leave the table to get a tissue, and then David Ayer comes in and thinks, "Brilliant."
It's like
no,
it's like all
that's
that abstract
not a
art,
finished
just like
design.
a wall.
It's not a finished design. Go back and do your work. Crying out loud.
Man.
And
All right.
Cara Delevingne is terrible in the film. You'd never for a moment buy the romance between her and Rick Flag. Joel Kinnaman's pretty good, but he cannot sell that romance at all.
He's my favorite part of the movie. He to me was my favorite part of the film, and I think I got a little flack for that last week. Alicia thought he was very bland, but I thought he was the emotional center. He was the only really person trying. I think.
I mean, he was bland, but he's supposed to be bland. You know,
he's a military guy. To me was the only one that was kind of trying. But then again, I love him in House of Cards, so maybe that's just me carrying over that love from House of Cards to the show. He's great in that show.
Yeah, he did some good acting in that. He got tearful in the bar scene.
Yeah,
even though that was kind of out of place, but
joke.
still good acting.
I think he was just fed up with everything. You know, he's like, my girlfriend that I've grown to love is over there twerking in the subway. I don't know what to do with my life anymore. He just kind of gave up.
Speaking of that subway scene, why does the movie, like when Deadshot finds that folder in the helicopter, why does the movie present it as a massive twist? Yet we've seen it twice. We've seen that scene twice, and they present it as a massive twist.
Yeah, and somehow Will Smith managed to read that entire folder in like 5 seconds.
He read like 100 pages in a matter of a blink. Yes, yeah. Like the movie, the scene cuts to Rick Flag, and it's Deadshot. I guess he just flicked through and saw the pictures, and he happened to see a picture. And just like, you have pictures of us in a folder. Tell us what's going on. I'm like, he could have easily have been like, oh, we just have pictures of your own file. Yeah,
but I think it's just the last point I'll make, and then we can move on if we want, because Suicide Squad's so annoying. Is that the action is really, really limp. Like the fights basically consist of fighting blueberries until Rick Flag almost gets kidnapped. They save him and band together, and that's the end of the action scene. They do that twice in a row. That happens twice in the film.
The line, if I die, if you die, we die, is said within a matter of 2 minutes of each other. It was very irritating. Yeah.
And the big hero moment for Deadshot is just standing on top of a car and just firing wildly.
Yeah.
There's no originality to it. And the final action scene is shot mostly in silhouette through smoke. It's a friggin' mess.
Yeah. Say what you want about the Marvel movies and how they're not original and how they can feel samey in their tone. Say what you guys want, but the action in those movies, at least, with the exception of those two Avengers films, even the first Avengers film always has some kind of creative way to do an action sequence. You have the long take in the first Avengers. You have some really impressive stuff in the prison and Guardians. Ant-Man had that whole shrinky fight. This one was just people shooting at things.
They never use their power set. Harley Quinn's meant to be an acrobat, and she does maybe one spin in the action scene in the office tower.
Her trademark mallet. She picks it up.
What a cop team.
And doesn't use it. She grabs the baseball bat instead. Why?
Yeah, Killer Croc should also be the muscle, but he doesn't. He's not even the one who plants the bomb underwater.
No.
No, Trilbee. He's not the muscle.
Scott Eastwood.
He's not the muscle. He's the hot chick. Remember, Trilbee? He's beautiful. I do like that line. That
was funny, but apparently it's set up much better in an alternative cut of the film where we get Killer Croc's backstory and stuff. So it would have been interesting to see that version.
I think it's better without the setup. I think it's just a nice little character moment of him being like, "Oh, okay, so he thinks he's awesome." I think that works better without the setup, but that's just me.
They really needed to include the bit in the comics that explains that Harley has she has a healing factor and enhanced strength and speed and all that. Because otherwise, why is she there?
And how can she fall from a helicopter onto a building and not break her ankles?
Exactly.
At least.
Yeah,
they
could have said that Joker's chemical bath did that to her or something, but no. And you're just why is she there? At least in Assault on Arkham, she's there because her relationship with the Joker, and that's important to the mission as well. That's part of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they really could have done with that. It's
like in the animated film,
Maybe we
there's a
should move
great
on. We
moment
could
where
talk for like another 2 hours, just
We
nitpicking
could.
everything in
We
Suicide.
could.
I'll just wrap up because
Alright.
you all talked about it last week. It feels like David Ayer spent $180 million of Warner Brothers money to have a party with his friends.
Yeah.
Because you get these news stories like, oh, Jared Leto did all of this method stuff on set, and
They
David
all
Ayer
gave
had
each
to
other
hire.
tattoos.
They gave each other tattoos. David Ayer actually hired psychiatrists in case that all the actors went to such a dark place, even though there's nothing like that in the film. And it just feels like
Triangle, bitch.
Triangle,
Sorry.
bitch. But it just feels like they spent so much time just trying to have fun on set that they never thought to make an actual movie in a cinematic universe where they all meant to tie into each other. And it's marginally better than Batman v Superman, the theatrical cut, but mainly because these are characters that we've not really seen before on the big screen, and it has a couple more like original angles to it, but it still feels way too long. The second act has nothing to it. You don't believe the villain. I forgot the brother's name, which is how impactful the villain is. Ink is something.
Nothing. Oh, nothing. I've completely forgotten. Nothing.
Exactly. Even though it's just meant to be a team dynamic, they never feel like a unit, and they have no original concepts, and the film's really, really pants.
All right. So what do you give it out of 10, Trilbee?
I'll give it a 2 out of 10. I gave Batman v Superman. I gave Batman v Superman a 1. I gave that a 1.
I gave it a 4.
I gave the ultimate cut. I gave the ultimate cut a 2.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Right on.
So,
Wow.
Okay. You see?
Scathing.
Do you smell that, Bandit?
What's
So
so funny?
Do you guys
is that-
feel that Trilby's being too harsh because he feels like Marvel has a bias against DC? Clearly, that's what's going on here, Trilby. Clearly, you have so much of us. You have so much of an unknown.
That. Yeah.
There's such a there's a subconscious bias that Marvel has built inside our heads that we just don't like DC movies anymore. That's clearly what's going on here, guys.
What's funny is that when I said on Facebook, on my Facebook page, that I didn't like the film, somebody like jokingly said, "Oh, Disney has paid you off." And what was funny, like the last job I did before my Netflix job, it was a Disney job, and my Disney check from them arrived the day after I saw Suicide Squad. so Disney literally did pay me once I stopped liking Suicide Squad.
That's awesome. That's great. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait in like 5 years when you start like liking DC movies. Everyone's gonna be like, "Remember, Trilby got paid by Disney and did not like Suicide Squad."
It's just such a funny coincidence that everyone just throws the "you were paid" accusation left, right, and center, and I literally did.
Yeah,
I
Trilby
get
was
no
paid
head
by
for it.
Disney
You were
after
paid,
season. He was
Before anyone asked, it was just a Disney Channel show that I'd never heard of. That's filmed in the UK. It's not Marvel. It's not comic book related. Just got to put that out there before. So it's called the Evermore Chronicles. It's like
I'll check it out.
It's in its second series. I know nothing about it. I'd never seen it before I worked on it.
Liar. You're our biggest fan. All right,
Evermore
guys.
Chronicles is great.
Let's get to our future presentation 80 minutes in.
And now, our feature presentation.
All right, guys, this is the future presentation. Let's get to the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Bandit, you're the freshman here. You were originally a Muggle, and you're now encapsulated in this world. Tell us, Bandit, what did you think of the first 2 Harry Potter films?
Well,
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be great. Yay!
look, I don't hate them, but look. Let me tell you something.
Shoot us!
First of all, for the name of the podcast, I'm just going to put Harry Potter 1 and 2. I'm not going to say the whole title because it'll be too long to put the whole thing for the podcast there. So apologies to everyone
Harry
for
Potter
calling
and
it
the
Harry Potter 1
Philosopher's
and
Chamber
2.
of Secret Stone.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, make it Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Chamber of Oh, wait, you guys call it Philosophers, don't you? My copy said Sorcerer's Stone.
Look, to say I had absolutely no interest in seeing these movies is fair, and you guys bullied me into it, especially you, Trey.
You're bullying me into the prequels, Bandit. We had a deal.
You've already
all right?
seen them. I'm not forcing you to see them again.
Let's just say,
Yes, you are. I haven't seen the prequels since I was 5. Oh,
Look,
my God.
it's funny, but like, no, look, watching Harry Potter, I'm like, I get it. I get why this was so popular. So, like, I'm not knocking on anyone for liking it. I'm like, no, it's good, but I have
context.
several questions, I'll say. But the second movie actually did win me over kind of more than the first one.
They do get better as they go along, I think. But yeah,
because the second one, when it starts, I was like, God, this is pretty much the same story as the last one, wasn't it? I'm like, and then it gets to halfway, and I'm like, ooh. So I can also see like how this would have been interesting as a book, because like with these first two movies, it's also kind of like a whodunit as well, like especially the second one. But so like I get it, but I've got many questions.
Just tell us what you think, Bandit. Quit beating around the bush. All right, go for the kill. What'd you think about the movies?
Yeah, they were good.
Okay.
That was worth the months of bullying.
Yeah, you don't have to be on. You can be as honest as you want. You don't have to like hide your opinion. Right, well, no one here's gonna yell at you except children.
I presume we can just jump straight into spoilers, right?
Yeah, we can jump into spoilers, guys. If you guys haven't seen Harry Potter.
Ask. Okay. Let me find. Here it is. Okay.
Oh, he's probably got like a 3-page list of questions.
Because this is it's never answered in the first movie, and I assumed when it wasn't, it would be answered in the second movie. It wasn't answered either. It's probably answered in the books. Is the wizard world in Hogwarts, is that like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe sort of thing, where it's like you cross into this other dimension thing, or is it on our world? Because here, let me say. It starts. They walk through this. The brick wall slides open and they walk into this wizard shopping street. So I'm like, okay, this is in our world. It's just sealed off. People can't get to it. Muggles can't get to it. Then they go to the train station and I'm like, oh, they're back in the real world. They must have come out of that street. Then they run through an invisible wall and I'm like, okay, so they've crossed through again. Now they're in the wizard world. Then in the school, though, Ron Weasley mentions that his cousin is training dragons in Romania, and I'm like, well, Romania is an Earth country.
Yeah.
Why do they? That's not in the wizard world.
Because
so my question is, is Hogwarts in the real world or is it in another dimension? Because if it's in the
I
real
answer,
world,
Trilbee?
If it's in another dimension, why are they raising dragons on Earth in Romania? And if it's not in another dimension and it's on Earth, why does nobody ever notice all this weird magic stuff going on?
I have a 2-word answer, but Trey, you go for it.
All right, so here's my thing, right? So the Wizarding World, they do things as you see with the car in movie 2. They have a bit of a cloak; they can go invisible, so people can't see the flying car. The Wizarding World, what the Muggles see is different to what is actually there. Like I think they say in the books, when you look at Hogwarts, they just see like a mountainside, don't they? So it's there, but it's not there to the Muggles' eye. I'm pretty sure that's the truth about Hogwarts. I'm sure Trilbee can give you the 2-word answer.
Magic, bitch.
Sure.
No,
easily. There you go.
It is just one of like in the books. They don't say it in the films, which obviously doesn't mean that the films can certainly get away with it. But in order to see Hogwarts, you've got to look at it from just the right angle. You know, otherwise it is just the side of a mountain.
Yeah, it's like it's a charm or something. I can't. It is something magical that keeps the Muggles from viewing certain things. As you will see later on.
Do they ever explain that, or do they just never bother?
No, they explain it in the books. And I think it's also briefly because they do.
If you can do like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, once you cross through that border, you're now in a whole different thing. Everyone understands. But if you want to set it that this is also part of our world, but somehow no one ever sees it, you really need to explain how. Like in the second movie, there is the guy who mentions he can do memory charms, like erasing people's memory. So I thought maybe there's like a wizard Men in Black that goes around erasing everyone's memory.
No, it is as simple as the Muggles cannot see the magical things usually. I would like to say that
they can though.
But I do. Yeah.
They see the flying car.
Excuse me. I would like to say that there are the Muggle and Wizarding World is not as separate as we know. Mudbloods are a thing, which is a big topic in the second installment. And there are things called which they never really explain until which I get, which is a problem with these films. Sorry, I hit my mic. Is that they explain certain things in so much detail in the book that really only get a brief mention in the movies because they have to keep the movie going along. Yeah, there are these things called. Bear with me on this. There are these people that are called squibs, and Trilbee, do you want to explain to Ben what a squib is and how that works in the Wizarding World?
No, you seem to be doing a pretty good job.
they're. I mean, because I haven't read these books since second grade, and I'm a junior in high school. But so a squib is essentially a Muggle who is in the wizarding world. You know, they're a Muggle who is enamored in this whole world. Filch, the guy with the cat, he is a squib. He's not a magical being, but he is in the wizarding world. Right? That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. And Filch is like the main example in this universe.
Yeah, and I love Filch, by the way. He's great. He's also known as Walter Frey Bandit. So you know, there are the Muggles, and as you know, Muggles can marry wizards and have children, or Muggles can have wizard children. You know, it's a
Or,
the Muggle
or
and
just
the
two Muggles can just learn magic.
Yeah.
Because that's what's her name? The girl. What's her name?
Hermione.
Hermione. Yeah, she's.
Yes,
They specify
parents are
both her parents are Muggles. So, but if it is the same world as ours, why are wizards
magic
ruling the world then?
Is that how Hermione got to learn? I thought she was like, hold on, wait a minute, what? Hermione is born with Muggle parents, but but she still has magic in her blood. Yes, that's how she's able to do it. She doesn't just pick up on it.
Well,
yeah,
that was confusing to me as well, because I assumed you have to be born with high midichlorians to be a wizard. But then they I think they say twice in the second movie, they say that Hermione does, both of her parents are Muggles. So I was like, so anyone can learn magic, so what?
You do have to, you kind of have to be born into it, if that makes sense. Like, because they make a point in the books how Hermione, she does have, she's the only parent of Muggle, she's the only child of Muggle parents who are both dentists, and she, all of a sudden, as she starts growing up, she does start to display some oddities and a few things. I don't think they're exactly stated what they are. And then when you're 11, you are sent a letter to you are sent an invitation to attend Hogwarts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you get into it proper.
Yes. So essentially, in Harry's case, you know, Harry never grew up doing a lot of magic things. Typically, he did things here or there, but that were out of his control because the magic was more or less in his blood. That's why the term mud blood is such a thing. You know, that means you have Muggle in your wizarding blood. But further questions, man?
Harry's not adopted parents, it's his uncle and aunt to look after him, isn't it? Or lock him under the stairs.
Worst kind of people. Those, man, they suck. I was getting so mad.
They know there is magic. They know there is this magic school, and they're Muggles. So presumably, lots of families all around the world know that magic is a real thing. Like, how is that kept under wraps if it's the same world as ours?
It's more along the lines of, you know, if there's a wizard in the family. There are a lot of
like with the train, like when the train takes off and takes them to Hogwarts, I was like, oh, they probably go through a portal. But in the second one, they fly there in the car, and I was like,
yeah, well, it's not because it's
so
not
really anybody
could
could just walk along those train tracks and end up in Hogwarts.
Well, no, but
you could have like Swedish hikers could just show up on the mountain and go, "Whoa, what's this?"
The train doesn't show up. The train doesn't arrive at Hogwarts. It arrives at a station, and they boat to Hogwarts. But all right. So you're asking a lot of questions.
You are overthinking this, Bandit.
There you go. Thank you, Trilbee. Like, you're asking a lot of questions that I don't think. I'm not trying to say don't think about it, but it's more of that thing of, just, you know, you don't really need to worry about that. I'm not trying to say that it's not like
it matters, because like,
no,
why hasn't
really Voldemort? I was going to say, it doesn't matter.
Just taken over the whole world? How easy would it be if you're a magician?
He's kind of trying to. That's why people need to stop.
How have they kept all of Slytherin under control all this time? Slytherin would have taken over the world 50 times over if it's the same
not
world.
all of Slytherin are evil. So that's just 10. If you not all of Slytherin are evil
wizards. Voldemort's not the only evil wizard. I'm sure there's others.
No, there are plenty of other evil wizards out there. Because they have evil wizards.
You have one film left to find out what happens to all the evil wizards. You have one film left. Because you find out in the third.
Without giving anything away, they do have wizards in the wizarding world that hunt down evil wizards, and they're called auras. But you're asking questions that A, get explained later on, and B, really don't matter. But to ask a question like, how does a Swedish hacker not get into Hogwarts? First of all, Hogwarts is not in Sweden; it's in England. But
it's kind of weird. It takes them 3 movies to just set up the basic parameters of how this world works.
They set the basic parameters of the world.
No, it doesn't. It's like you don't even know whether it's the same world or a different world until the second movie, and when you find out it's the same world, that opens up even more questions.
No, well, no, but
It's the same but different. It's 1990s England. It's like an alien world.
It is 90s. It is set in the 90s. Okay.
Okay. Well, let's move on.
What did you think of the movies themselves, Bandit? That's why I asked 20 minutes ago. Oh boy.
Yeah, look, they were fine. They were enjoyable enough, but
okay, all right.
I'm sick of these. I'm sick of these Chosen One stories. You know, like
fair.
Mr. Sunday Movies and all that on their podcast. They talk about that a lot. They hate Chosen One stories.
Sorry, I'm just ticking off Movie Mania bingo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. Let's our daily mention.
B7,
that being said, being the
suck
quote.
my battleship.
Yep, B7.
Wrong game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the difference between usual Chosen One stories, like I think this one falls more in line with something like your Luke Skywalker's than your every other story about the Chosen One ever. Just because
it's not different because he's famous everywhere. Luke was a nobody until he did something.
Well, my thing is more along the lines of this. The Chosen One story is not. It's not really the main plot. More or less because it wasn't really something he was destined to do. It was more of the fact that it was happenstance that Voldemort did what he did that made Harry the one that had to do this. He was never always destined for it to be that way. It was just sort of something happened which then led to Harry having to do this.
Yeah,
I think
that's fine. That's fine. But like, I just have a problem with like kids movies sort of pushing that message. You know, because it's like, well, first of all, I just hate. Like, let me compare it to Star Wars, right? Because that's more familiar territory for me. It's a bit easier.
Check it off, Trilbee.
Like
Star Wars.
Yep.
Like the origins for Obi-Wan Kenobi when he was a young man, like not counting the prequels, I'm talking in literature, was that he was barely even Force sensitive when he was first taken on as and he had to work really, really hard to actually become a Jedi, a Master of the Force. And that's why I think you respect him more when he becomes a Jedi Master than you do like Anakin, who's just born being automatically awesome. And I hate that.
Well, Harry isn't born awesome, though.
You're special because you're born this way, not because you work. You know, and that's a terrible life lesson to teach kids. And it makes it laughable. And it makes it laughable later in the movie when he goes to Hogwarts and there's Draco Malfoy or whatever his name is. He's like, anyway. join Slytherin because we're the ones who have superiority based on birth. And Harry Potter's like, no, I don't like that. And I'm like, you're the epitome of that. You're the absolute.
No, it's not. It's not like
it's a class. It's more of a class thing. When he says that to Draco, because he's been friends. Because Harry has befriended Rupert Grint's Ron, who is like from a poor wizarding family. And then when Draco's like, "You don't be settling with the wrong sort. I can help you there." And it's more about a class thing.
Yeah, I get that. And to say he's famous for nothing. He's the Kim Kardashian of the wizard world. He's famous for doing
I'm gonna
nothing.
swear. I can't.
Let him actually achieve something, and then people can go, "Oh, it's the famous Harry Potter." He didn't do anything.
Bandit. He's not famous for doing. Bandit.
He's not a great example. Ron Weasley's way more inspirational than Harry Potter.
He's not famous for doing something. He's famous for being the one that survived. And the fact that no one saw him for years really kind of built up his fame. Because he was out of the wizarding world for pretty much, 11 years, and then suddenly he comes back into the world and it's like, oh my god, you're Harry Potter. That fades as the movies go on because he's in the wizarding world more. Also, it's more a fact of, with Obi-Wan, he does have to work and get there. But the difference between Harry and Anakin is that Harry's not born being this amazing wizard. Harry's not born being the greatest wizard that ever was.
Yes, he is.
I'm not going to say
in that first movie he can do pretty much everything easily.
Nope, he can't.
He doesn't. All he really does in that first movie is take down Professor Quirrell, and that's solely because something that happens with Voldemort, and that just happens to be the way that is.
He wins the one football game, even though he doesn't even know the rules to it.
He's a good flyer. That's how the game works. Ron's the one that beats wizard chess. He's the one that does the wizard chess. Hermione does the vines. Harry ultimately all Harry is that he's brave, and that's what gets him through things. He has a lot of courage. And honestly, this is more of a criticism that people have about the franchise, that Harry honestly is not the one that does everything, despite everyone claiming him to be the boy who lived, being the great. But I think that's what makes him so endearing. Harry's not the kind of guy like a Malfoy who boasts how awesome he is, who boasts how much he can be the greatest out there, because he knows he's not. He knows that he needs the help of others to be.
Instead, he's the guy that takes the credit for what his friends did?
No,
he's famous
absolutely
for taking
not.
the credit of what his friends did?
The only reason Harry Potter is famous is because he survived Voldemort, which was complete happenstance.
Which is stupid. Because that wouldn't make him famous.
Oh my God.
He's the boy who has got fame thrust upon him, and he's trying to prove that he's worthy of that.
No, I'm saying
he's not automatically worthy of it.
I'm saying the idea that Voldemort could apparently not kill one kid, and that somehow has grown into a legend, that idea is stupid.
Well, really?
That wouldn't grow into a legend. It wouldn't make you famous. People would just be like, oh, apparently he had trouble killing some kid that none of us have ever seen before. Who knows if he even exists? Really, you should go there and say, I'm Harry Potter, and they'd be like, I don't even know. Are you just making that up because you heard this rumor about this kid? People wouldn't even believe the Harry Potter story was true.
And are you trolling us?
I'm freaking out, Trilbee. I'm trying to keep my cool, honest to God. This is... oh, man. As a Harry Potter fan, my heart is sinking.
I'm talking more just from the story perspective. I get the thing is, it's a kid's story. You want to have it that this kid's treated really badly by his family, and then he's introduced in this world where he gets all the attention that he never gets. I get that. It just doesn't.
He doesn't really
make
like
a lot of
that
sense.
either.
And I don't like the way they build him up as a role model when he's really not.
He's not the
role
role
like
model,
this message of people are just special because they're born superior than others.
He's not. He's
special,
a role model
because he's not coasting on his God-given success. He's actually trying to earn it.
And they clearly show that he's not the best at what he can be. They clearly show that Hermione is easily the best, is probably the one of the best students at Hogwarts, let alone out of the group of their friends.
Which is why she should be the main character, not him.
Yeah, and when the cave troll incident happens,
almost killed by Voldemort. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
When the cave troll incident happens, the most that Harry does is stick the wand up the troll's nose. He doesn't do much. It's up to Hermione and Ron to do it. He's not the main hero of this story.
I knew he was going to hate this. I had a feeling. I know the moment I started getting teary-eyed at the end of the first movie.
You're right. He's not a Mary Sue. Okay, he's not.
Oh, don't you dare!
Yeah,
don't you dare!
I'm being serious. He's not. You're right. He's not a Mary Sue. He is flawed. He's not like an Anakin who's just great at everything. I just don't like this idea of you're chosen. This idea of pushing you're special based on birth rather than merit. Because that seems to happen a lot in kids' movies now, and I don't like it.
Well, first of all, it wasn't based on birth. It was based off his merit was that he was able to survive being by an attempted assassination.
But he didn't do that. He was a baby.
No, his mom did, but his parents.
He doesn't know that yet. Well. Spoilers.
Yeah, but that's
spoilers?
They say that in the first movie.
He survived.
They say that in the second.
It's more specific later.
Trey, if you were like a kid and you had some disease when you were a baby that almost killed you, but you managed to survive, I'd be like, wow, that's amazing. But I wouldn't be like, whoa, you're the chosen one. You're
Voldemort
amazing because you survived.
Voldemort is
good on you
Voldemort
for surviving.
Wizard
It doesn't
Hitler.
mean that you're the greatest person that ever lived. It doesn't mean that you're the chosen one. You didn't do that. You managed to survive as a kid. Great, but it's not like something you did.
Bandit's back with the crappy analogies. Voldemort's not a disease. He's a wizard Hitler. There's a difference there. But
I'm just pointing out, him surviving as a baby is not a credit to him being an amazing wizard or whatever, because he's a baby. He didn't actually do that.
It's not.
It's great
People
that he
don't
survived,
credit him for being an amazing wizard. People never call him people call him amazing because he survived. People don't call him the best wizard out there because they know he's not. People call Dumbledore the best wizard out there because, without giving anything away, he kind of is. We just haven't seen that yet. That's okay.
It's not just the fact that he survived. He's the one person to survive survive Voldemort. It's also the fact that was the night that Voldemort was disappeared and went away. He's not just responsible for being the boy who lived. He's also responsible for being the boy who stopped the most powerful evil wizard ever.
Yes, he took out Hitler as a baby. Yeah, it's just and I really want to push.
That's what doesn't make sense to me. He's more famous than Dumbledore, who spent God knows
That's
how
not true.
long being an amazing
not true at
wizard
all.
Not really.
because of something
That's not
he
true
did
at
at
all.
a baby that he had no direct control over.
He's
That
not.
doesn't make
He's
sense
not
to
more
me.
famous. He's not more famous than Dumbledore. That's,
Well, the
that's,
fact
that's,
that-
Certainly seems
right
like
there.
it.
But the fact that Harry Potter is a famous child kind of goes away after the first act. Once he's in Hogwarts and he's with his own kind, for lack of a better term, he just blends in with the rest of the students.
Yes.
He just
Notice that.
In the second movie, every time everyone meets
notice
him, they're
that-
like, "Oh, it's the great Harry."
because
But
these
that's
are
what I'm
brand new
saying,
characters that you've never
yeah.
met before.
He's never met him, so they've never met him. So when they see him, it's like, oh, you're Harry Potter. But that doesn't continue throughout the rest of the film when those characters are reintroduced. You notice that all of Harry's friends aren't like, oh yeah, Harry's the greatest because he's Harry Potter. He was the boy that lived. That only happens once when they first meet him, and you'll see that happen further on with less and less characters as the movie series go along. Which is my thing saying it's the fact that he lived and no one saw him for 11 years. Voldemort disappeared, and then the kid that took him out, quote unquote, was gone for 11 years. Is the fact that everyone's kind of permeating on his success of what he did as a baby, and so then when they meet,
hang
you
on.
realize that he's not. Oh, boy.
Maybe this is something that happens later in the movies. They don't say that baby Harry Potter defeated Voldemort. They say that baby Harry Potter was not killed by Voldemort.
No, and then Voldemort went away for like 11
Baby
years.
Harry
He
Potter did not
disappeared
jump
that
out of
night.
the crib and karate kick Voldemort in the head. And
Nobody knows what happened, which is
See,
why
if he did that would have been impressive. Then everyone would be
But
like,
nobody-
"Wow,
but-
this is Ninja Baby Harry Potter. I'm impressed now."
nobody knows exactly what
Okay, Joe,
happened
but he's
that
officially
night.
trolling
Then
us.
why is
Banner's
it such a legend?
But that's
my
how it
God.
becomes a legend.
Oh,
Nobody
shit.
knows.
Jesus,
Chinese
that's
whispers.
Oh my god. I'm pulling out the hair that I have. I just grew this hair out. I'm pulling it out. I feel like the Joker. Oh my god. All right. Trilbee,
Hello.
did you revisit the first two movies this past week?
I revisited them a couple of weeks ago, but it's fresh in my memory.
What are your opinions on the first two films? Since we've been going around this circle for about 20 minutes. So what did you think?
Right,
Good Lord.
the first two films don't hold up as well as I thought they would. Like I think they're really solid films, and they're full of iconic moments that I just go right back to my childhood when I watch them. But I think it's because it's something that is mentioned in the Weekly Planet podcast. Wikipedia Brown mentions like movie currency.
Mm-hmm.
Like a movie from the 60s is a lot better than a movie from the I can't remember it depends how something ages, like how I can't remember an example. It's nearly midnight here, but I think a lot of the things that have become trite and have become redundant over the past few years are things that Harry Potter pioneered.
Yes.
In terms of storytelling, in terms of these chosen one narratives, young adult stuff, having stunt casting really famous British actors as the main characters in young adult films like Hunger Games and the Divergent series. The stuff like that is stuff that Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It's not Sorcerer's Stone, everyone.
Yes, it is.
Go away. It's stuff that this film pioneered, and the kid actors aren't amazing. Like Daniel Radcliffe, he gets a lot better by movies 3 and 4. Emma Watson was always awesome in this role.
I really enjoyed them in movie 2. I think the first movie, the only one that really stands out child-wise, is Ron. I think Emma Watson gets stuck in this kind of cycle of...
Ron's awesome.
I think Emma Watson gets stuck in this cycle of I have to open my mouth really before I say anything. Like she has to make sure she has her mouth gaping open before she makes a fact. It's like, well, actually, you can feel her her mouth and extend 3 feet every time she speaks. That kind of goes away in the second movie, which I like. I think the second movie is a great improvement. I actually quite enjoyed the second film, but keep going, Trilbee.
But I think what made Harry Potter stand out more than it's why its success has yet to be fully replicated, is because it does such a terrific job at physically building this world. This is not just some low budget first film endeavor. This was a massively ambitious project for Warner Brothers. They build Diagon Alley. They build all of these shops. The wand shop. I've actually visited the wand shop because they've got a Warner Brothers studio tour in the UK about it, and you can visit and walk on the actual sets. And they literally build 5,000 of these wand boxes and these unique wands to to populate this set that John Hurt just wanders around and is really awesome in, because it's freaking John Hurt. And you can walk on Diagon Alley, you can walk through the Great Hall, you could, all of the food that's on the table when they arrive for the Grand Feast, that's real food that the kids are eating. It's this real populated, tangible world, whereas the Hunger Games, all they have is a fashion exhibit. They only built the costumes.
Some shaky cam.
It's just a generic forest or a CGI'd background with a couple of elaborate costumes that they can put up in some exhibitions. It's not a real, tangible, breathing world with these great costumes and this really fully populated. It's a whole populated universe, and I think that's why the Harry Potter films have stuck around and really. Just grabbed people the way they have, because it does feel like somewhere you could walk down platform 9 3/4, because it really exists.
Universal. Yeah,
exactly.
I went there. I went to Universal Studios, and I have to say that because I went there on vacation last year, and my cousin walked down this like dark hallway. I think he said he wanted to see what was down there. It was just this alley. I'm like, oh, that's just like the behind the scenes of the park where you see like gears and stuff. And then he turns to me, he's like, Trey, you're gonna want to see this. I'm like, what? And I walked down the hallway, and like then it just like kind of opens up because it's hidden in this building, and then it just kind of opens up, and it's Diagon Alley. And like the music kicks in, you hear bum 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 ba-dun, and I just froze. And my mom said I was getting choked up. I'm like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It was really great. You know, they had the dragon there breathing fire. It was, oh man. All right. So
and how good is John Williams' music?
Oh, I think I think the reason these movies are as remembered, those first two especially, is because of what John Williams did with that score. That score is the actual epitome of what these movies are all about. Like the reason that I'm, I can go back and think that I'm 5 years old again whenever Harry leaves Hogwarts and that theme plays, and the camera pans up and you hear bum ba-dum bum 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 bum, and I can get choked up is because that score is just right. It puts you right back in. Like when the movie opens up and you hear the iconic theme with the Warner Brothers logo, like I could just watch that all day. But
I think that John Williams, he set in place the template for all of the melodies and the certain themes. How the main Harry Potter theme, it's not even Harry's theme, it's Hedwig's theme.
Hedwig's, which is I think Harry's theme is the one that plays whenever you see Hogwarts. I think it's Harry's Wondrous World.
But he laid down the template for other composers, like in later films, like Patrick Doyle, who did Goblet of Fire.
That Goblet of Fire score is amazing, I think.
And Nicholas Hooper, who did Order of the Phoenix, and Alexander Desplat, who knocked it out of the park.
Lily's theme is like one of my top 3 Harry Potter scores. Anyways.
Well, I can't wait to talk about Deathly Hallows.
We're getting there. Hopefully Bandit will stick with us that long. I will say that the first film, I can see why someone would not like that film. I was more enamored. I think that film is grounded a lot why Robbie Coltrane's performance as Hagrid. I think every time Hagrid really feels like he's kind of like, without sounding demeaning to him, he's like the family dog in the sense of like every time Hagrid's there, all he does just makes the entire frame feel warmer. I feel like I'm so comforted and so comfortable. I feel like I'm safe every time Hagrid's on screen, which is why when things happen later on in the series, anyways. So
do you want to know who was originally considered for Hagrid? Robin Williams.
Oh my God, yes.
That would have been so different but so awesome.
I think he would have pulled it off brilliantly because just watch Patch Adams. But anyways, I think that every time Hagrid appears on screen, I'm just like, oh, I feel safe now because Hagrid's here. So I feel like that first film really, a lot of the effects don't hold as well as I wish they did. I think some of the effects are pretty great. Like when Harry, I think all the Quidditch stuff is really cool in that first movie. I think that a lot of the CG on the people is especially bad, but that's fine. I think it's a great improvement when it gets to the second film. But overall, I think pretty much every kid actor in that first movie, with the exception of Emma Watson. Hold on. Oh, all right. Well done. We'll keep the shop here. And anyways, what was I going with this? Oh yeah. And then the second film happens. Yeah, the kid acting. And then the second film happens, and you realize just how expansive this world is, because right away you get something different. Like 4 minutes into the second film, Dobby. No questions asked, no long-winded explanation, just Dobby. 4 minutes in. And you know what? We don't care, because we got to see that first film. We were brought into this world along with Harry. But yeah, and then the thing about the second film is that it does follow that, the Empire Strikes Back logic, where things get darker. And I think as the frames in the movie go along, I think the color palette gets darker. The color palette gets a bit more jaded. It goes from reds and oranges to kind of greens and browns, which I think speaks for the tone of the film. Suddenly, we're no longer just watching a guy talk with someone in the back of his head. We're now versing this giant snake and these giant field of spiders that I'm going to be 17 in October, and I still cannot watch that scene. I won't lie to you, Trilbee. I muted my TV for that scene. I almost skipped it. I was like, I can't do this.
I'm hardly the first person to point this out, but as the films progress and get darker, the Warner Brothers logo at the front gets like a darker shade of grey.
Yeah,
the logo keeps darker it gets darker with every installment to reflect how the series is going into much darker places.
I think by the time you hit movie 4, you're just like, oh, it's gone. Like Harry Potter is, it just got real by the time you get movie 4. But yeah, go ahead.
I think one thing that really holds these films together is just the cast is perfect.
Yes.
Like the cast, the amount of names that they got here, like John Hurt, of course, but Richard Griffith, who plays Vernon Dursley,
yes.
Who is just so funny.
It's a character that you wouldn't think needed to be someone important, but the fact that they got Richard Griffith to be that guy, he can just be so despicable, but yet at the same time slightly lovable, because you feel like he's just this guy that's trying to keep his life together, and then he married this woman that happens to have like magic in her blood for some reason, or magic in her family, and like you can tell like he's just like desperately trying not to commit suicide.
It's so funny at the beginning of the first film when he's trying just to not lose it, when all the letters are appearing, and then it comes to Sunday, and he's just like, you look at his face and he's just broken in his spirit.
I love that line with Dudley. It's like, last year there was 38. I love that Dudley. It's like, I don't think, because like you look at Dudley and it's like, oh, he's just this misguided fat kid that never got a beating every now and then, never got smacked upside the head. Like I feel like it's also going back to parenting. I feel like those screaming letters would be a lot different if there was a black family there. Like Dean Thomas, I think is the character's name. I'm being completely serious. Like, Ron gets like, Ronald Weasley, when you get back, you're grounded. I guarantee you, and part of my friendship, but the line, when you get home, I'm going to beat that ass, would be completely there. Every black character would get that letter every time they messed up, which is why you never see a black character slip up in these movies. That's all I'm saying. Anyways,
whereas instead, when you've got an angry white figure of authority, it's just fine day Sundays, best day of the week.
Oh my god! But it's like angry black mom. Like those letters are not getting opened. Oh my god! Like it's just a flying belt. It just goes around smacking kids. Yeah. Anyways. That's why.
Okay, you've got I'm just looking at this cast list and I'm just astounded. Like Richard Harris.
We haven't talked about Alan Rickman yet, so
yes, Alan Rickman, Jason Isaacs, Maggie Smith, David Bradley. Oh my god! And then
we haven't even gotten to Emma Thomas and like Brendan Gleeson. We haven't even gotten to like
Brendan Gleeson.
Gets later.
Well, we've got Kenneth Branagh in Chamber of Secrets. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Warwick Davis. Oh my god! And Gary Oldman in movie 3 and David Thewlis. Oh, this cast is just it's second to none.
We won't get to Azkaban now, but just know that rewatching Azkaban a couple of weeks ago, it just feels like the most to me out of all of them. It feels the most like an actual film, just the way it's shot. But we'll get to that when we get to Azkaban. I wish Bandit was here. You there, Bandit?
Yeah, he's off making toast.
Yeah, he's here. I think we scared him off.
I think we did.
We yelled at him for 20 minutes about trying to explain his nonsensical logic, and then we started gushing about Harry Potter, and so he's kind of left the room. He'll be back, everybody. Don't worry. Overall, I do think that the Harry Potter franchise these first two movies are what got everybody in. I'm happy that they changed tone wise and the story got serious and the the movies matured as the audience and characters matured, because that's naturally what would happen in these series. It'd be weird seeing a 20-year-old Harry Potter in the tone of the first movie. And so if there's a picture going around of every frame in the Harry Potter movies, and it's laid flat, and you can see, as the movies go along, it goes from brown and oranges to just dark black and green. I think 6 has a lot of white frames in it for some reason. But anyways, I think that
these first two films did such a great job at getting audiences in, but it was the later films that kept them in.
Yes, I think if three wasn't the way it was, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now. Because apparently, to a lot of people, people don't like movie 2, which I'm not sure why. I quite enjoyed this one.
I think it's good, but I do think it is if you were to rank all of the films, it would be in the lower half. That's not to say it's a bad film. It's not bad at all. It's really solid, but it more speaks
somewhere in the middle, I think.
It more speaks to the quality of the rest of the films as opposed to the lack of quality for Chamber of Secrets, if that makes sense.
And I think that, especially with Chamber of Secrets, I think that it's important to know that at that time, the franchise was still so young, and we were still brand new, because I think at that point book 4 was out or something like that. When did book 4 came out? Around that time, or maybe a little earlier than that, because the first book was in 96 or 97.
Let me double check that. So you keep rambling.
We were further into. Oh, we've lost 2 people now. We were further into the franchise in the books before we got to the movies. But I do feel forgot my point. What was I making?
Chamber of Secrets. The book came out in 98. The film came out in 2002.
Yeah. So when it and so I feel like it was important to make sure that these movies were good. Hey!
Hi, Bandit.
All right. Hey, Bandit. You enjoying your toast?
Yes. By the way, Trey, I accidentally burned my hand on the toaster when I was getting the toast out, but don't worry. I survived. Worship me! Worship me as a god because I survived. How special am I? My amazing skill of recovering.
Okay.
Order of the Phoenix, I think, was the first book to come out after the release of the first film.
Okay. Oh, wow. Really? Good. Use your aggression, boy. Yes.
Just give me the stone.
So
the orb.
Sorry,
Anyways,
just
okay.
What are you guys talking about now? Which movie?
We were just giving our thoughts on the film, the 2 films in general.
Okay. We were just talking about why Sunday is the best day of the week. Why is that, sure. Bandit? Why is the Sunday the best day of the week, Bandit? No post on Sundays.
Why?
No post. No blasted letters today.
You just see a bunch of owls out in the front yard. So, Bandit,
yes.
Let me ask you this: what about the films did you enjoy?
Oh, I did enjoy the films. I didn't.
Okay, but what about them did you enjoy? I'd like some specifics. Is why I'm asking here to get you more enamored in conversation.
I actually enjoyed the second one a bit more than the first one.
Me too.
Because I was bogged down asking all these questions that we were going through. Also, with the first one, I was like, when it's revealed about Voldemort and all that, I was like, if Voldemort was weak in the forest, why didn't all the wizards just go out and kill him? Like that weird.
They probably didn't know he was there.
But they all know about Voldemort. They know he wants the Philosopher's Stone.
They didn't know he was still alive.
Yeah, they do.
They didn't.
Don't they?
No, they didn't know that until much later.
Dumbledore seems
to It was Harry and that who found out.
It was kind of weird at the end. Dumbledore's like, well done, Harry. I knew you could have done it. It's like, why didn't you guys get him?
I don't think they knew it was Voldemort. Because if they knew it was Voldemort, then they wouldn't have had Quirrell still in the building. Well,
But he knew because didn't he put the Philosopher's Stone in Harry's pocket? Or else had to get there.
That's magic. That's magic.
The magic that got the stone in the pocket is absolutely BS. You can have the stone if you want it, but won't use it. It's like, what?
That was a charm. That was a charm that Dumbledore put on there. It's explained, but I'll give you that, Bandit. But here's my thing: they did not know Voldemort was there.
Did that, and I was like, well, if he knew, why didn't he help him? Why didn't he kill Voldemort when he had the chance?
he thought someone was going to come get the Snow wife. You know, Fluffy was there, and that's why the mines were there. But he didn't realize that Voldemort was the one going after it. Which, you know, sure, he maybe he had his suspicions, but I don't think, like, especially because no one knew that. Hagrid was the one to find out that there was unicorn blood going around, because Hagrid's the one that keep things in check in that forest.
But
so
that
by the time
horse,
they figure out
that
the
weird horseman that chases Voldemort away,
Centaur,
it knew that was Voldemort.
It could, yeah, because he lives there.
I don't know.
Yeah, so people do know.
I don't know
that
if he
Voldemort's
knew that was
about.
Voldemort.
He was weak enough that guy could chase him away. Imagine if Dumbledore just went out there and just went, lightning in your face or something.
I don't think he knew. First of all, he's not the Emperor. I don't think he knew that was Voldemort. I think he just thought there was something killing. Unlimited power. No.
Unlimited power.
Okay.
Because in the Harry Potter universe, at this point in the films, there's a lot of dispute as to whether or not Voldemort is even still alive.
Yes.
Okay. So it actually becomes a massive plot point in movie 4, whether or not he's even alive or not. Like, I know this sounds ridiculous saying. It sounds ridiculous saying wait until 4 movies to find out, but that is because how this.
It's not really something that you worry about if you're focused on the characters in the story, because at this point in the story, the world is not worried about where Voldemort is right now, because at this point in the story, the world is just getting used to Harry Potter being a thing again. At this point, in movie 1, where we see Voldemort killing unicorns, we don't realize that the world doesn't know that Voldemort's back until far later on in the series, as Shirley said. What about did you
answer your
enjoy?
question, things I liked, because I didn't answer that.
What about the cast? What do you think of the older actors?
I do like all the actors, like all of them.
Okay.
I like all of the actors. I like.
Alan,
I do like all
Alan
the
Rickman.
performances. I did like the switcheroo they did, because all throughout the movie you're like, yeah, of course it's Severus Snape, of course. And
Snape.
like,
we're gonna close that end.
It's so predictable that it's
right
Severus Snape, and then it turns around, it's that stuttering guy, and I was like, "Ooh,
it's
good."
It's Snape, Bandit. It's Snape. I can't record 4 episodes of Movie Mania with you calling him Snake. Please, it's Snape. Because if I don't say anything, it's Snape. Yes, Bandit, it's Snape. If I don't say anything,
that whole house is all about snakes and all that, isn't it?
No,
Severus Snape.
They're called Slytherin. It's all about snakes, isn't it?
They're not Sith Lords. They don't have snake-based names. Anyways, my point is,
their little logo is a snake, isn't it? Like,
yes.
Yeah, but Harry Potter's not named Harry Griffin. So.
Yeah, Harry Potter's not named, Harry Courage or Harry Sneaky. They're not Sith Lords. But my point is,
Harry Sneaky in the Chamber of Secrets.
If I don't say something in the audience will, so let me nip that in the bud right now. It's Severus Snape.
We're doing it to save you from the comment section, Bandit.
Okay,
and
sure.
Before I listening back.
I like the twist of that. What else do I like?
What do you think of
even though it was completely over the top, I actually liked his evil family. Even though it's totally ridiculous how evil they were so over the top that I just thought it was really funny. Yeah, I love it when the dad's like,
I love those.
Every time the dad gets or the uncle gets angry, I think that's pretty funny.
Harry's family. Oh yeah. They're all. I thought you were talking about the Malfoys. Like, really? I thought they were kind of understated by how messed up they actually are.
But
I like them.
I think House Slytherin actually is kind of the coolest.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have the most depth. That's just because they're the villains. But I do. People always give that comparison of why do you put all the a-holes in one house. Typically speaking, there are other non-cool people that are not in Slytherin. For example, I'm not a big fan of Cedric Diggory, and Cho Chang kind of sucks, but you'll find those people out later. But it's more the fact that it just happens that if you have more of a conniving nature, then you go to House Slytherin. But honestly, according to Harry Potter, you can just choose, which I kind of like that idea of like, oh no, if you want to be in the house, just say which house you want to be in, and he'll put you there.
With that football game, there's like
Quidditch.
Quidditch.
There's like the different balls going around and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
But if you catch the golden ball with wings, you automatically win no matter what, which makes the entire game irrelevant.
If you get the snitch, you get 150 points. And that
which
ends
makes the game irrelevant.
But if team number one got 300
points,
points,
then it doesn't even matter if you score.
Let him talk.
if team number 1 got 300 points, team number 2 got 100 points and caught the snitch for 250, they would still lose because they had less points. And and there's like some stories, it's not in the actual films, it's just backstory that's mentioned offhand, how some Quidditch games have lasted for days because no one could find the snitch. It's just about being a really awkward sport. It's just about being a weird, kooky wizard sport that has strange rules.
I know,
yes, which I quite like. It also gives.
I got a nitpick. I can't help it.
No, you really don't.
If there's a ball out there that's worth 150 points, just get the entire team to go after that ball. That's the best strategy. Just catch that and you win.
No, well, that's not the rules of the game. The rules of the game is that there's one, and it's called the Seeker. Listen, Bandit. Listen, Bandit. God,
magic, bitch.
I try not to swear, Bandit. You'll be clean. I'm gonna end up swearing at the mic if I'm not careful, Bandit. You're making me very upset.
You know, there's different points for how far you're shooting from the hoop. But that's like saying, but if someone gets, you know, a basket from the complete other end of the basketball court, 1,000,000 points. Well, then the team would just make that their goal of getting. They just get one guy who just trains in that and protect him.
Only Bandit, the Seeker can get the snitch.
You're talking about what you like with the movies. Please stop. Upset. Please stop obsessing about how Quidditch doesn't make any sense, even though it does. Can you? What else did you enjoy? I will say
there was a really cool Quidditch game that you could buy on like GameCube and PlayStation 2.
I had it, and I played it all the time. I love that game. Yes, except the snitch part. The snitch part was always difficult because I can never find it. It was like, get the snitch. Then just like, where did it go? I lost it. So, anyways, but Bandit, what else did you enjoy about the movie? What about the second film? You said you liked the second film.
I like the Lord of the Rings invisibility cloak. They call it something else, but it's the Lord of the Rings cloak.
Oh, it's the invisibility cloak. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. But
they call it.
They actually are making an invisibility cloak in real life, though. They're calling it. I wrote this down. Quantum camouflage. That's the word for it.
Kind of cool.
They're actually making it in the military, so we might actually have a real invisibility cloak leading up.
All the teenage boys, I would love to have that invincibility. That's all I'm going to say. All the teenage boys, I think, would kill for that invisibility cloak. I'm just saying. They don't explain that in the later movies and books. I'm just saying. When Harry got to be, 15, 16 years old, I feel like, the invisibility cloak would be a little more useful than to get on with. Anyway, that's not
so Voldemort doesn't have a body, and he's living in the back of the guy's head.
All right.
But then at the end of the movie, he becomes a ghost again, so presumably he needs to attach to another body. But by the second movie, he's a memory? He's in a book?
Okay. This is something that we cannot explain to you yet because everything gets filled out as the movies go on. Because what that is something that we cannot get into now. So I can understand why you have questions. Just know that Voldemort has made himself a memory in that diary. He's made himself a physical manifestation of that diary. Now that gets explained fully about what that's all about later on. But
so it's not that he can possess objects as well, sort of thing.
No, it's not.
So it's not that he was able to put himself in the book.
We'll wait.
Okay.
When you've
got a couple more weeks.
Because I was confused because I was like, I thought he needed to go into a body, but now he's kind of in a book.
And now this is what I like about Harry Potter though, is that they're able to like now that we know the full story, Trilbee, so that it's interesting that we're able to going back and look at it. They do only give you tidbits until you get the final picture by the time the series is over.
Let's just say that right now, that question is kind of like saying, "Oh, the episode 1 of Breaking Bad. I don't see how this guy could become a drug lord." It's just about let's see how it plays out.
It's like saying it's like watching.
What is the end of the second movie?
No, but
you're a quarter of the way through.
Yeah, it's like watching, New Hope and saying, well, how is Luke going to be able to defeat Darth Vader, and what's their connection? Why does he care about Luke Skywalker? When you don't know the full thing, you don't understand why it is about Vader and Luke that makes him so intertwined. Yeah. There is a bigger picture happening here.
But I promise it'll get explained. It is expanding out more. Like from the first to the second movie, I can see it's expanding out more. But as it expands out more, I have more questions. If we could jump into the second, could I ask? What's the ethical guidelines for wizards with animals? Because in the second one, there's the whole scene where the cat gets petrified and everyone's like, this is a horrible, terrible crime. And then literally the very next scene is they're like, okay, class, we're going to practice turning living animals into cups. And I was like, wait, You're doing what
Trey,
this
he's
horrible
right.
monster
Trey,
just
he's
did
right.
with the petrified cat. It's...
I always
I'll
thought,
just
wasn't there
count
something
his
else
time
going on
right.
with Mrs. Norris? I feel like Mrs. Norris had something else going on than just her being a cat. Isn't there something else going on with Mrs. Norris? I don't know.
I think Bandit's got us on this one.
Sure.
But it's
okay.
like you
well,
could say, oh,
to answer-
they
to
turn them
answer
into
that
the
question-
cup, but they're still alive. They're just sort of stuck as a cup. Well, isn't that the same as being petrified? You're just frozen in place.
Okay, all right. Well, moving on from that, because but here's the thing, though. With animal rights in Harry Potter, that is a thing. With creature rights in general, that is a thing that is explored heavily in the novels. I know that's not an answer to your question. I know the answer should be, they should explain it in the movie, which they should. But
animal rights and wizardry is a bit unknown. What about slavery?
It's a thing that exists. Yes, that's a thing. That's a big thing that I believe they really go into in the books, like book 5 or 6 with Hermione, and how Hermione is a big advocate of trying to free all the house elves. Yeah. As the story goes on, that's a big thing that they don't really go into.
World? Like, if they're so enlightened, why do they even allow it at all?
Because
it's cool that Harry Potter frees Dobby, and I love the way he did it. That was really cool. How he tricks him into giving him the sock. That was awesome. I love that so much. But I was like, it's great he freed Dobby, but why do they allow slaves at all? Like, apparently...
House elves don't... I think, and I think because there are house elves out there that we're going to meet later that don't inherently hate the fact that they're house elves. I think it's more a matter of, oh, you're treating this person like crap. I think that's more why Dobby wanted to leave. Like, I think... one of the giant consensuses, at least from what I can remember in the books, like I said, it's been years since I've read them, is that house elves, they don't mind being house elves, but Hermione feels like they should be free anyway.
Yeah.
But I think because
what you don't know, that's fine, because butlers can quit if they want to. Yeah.
But what you don't know is that all that food that you see at the table of Hogwarts is all made by house elves in the dungeons that they just warp up to the tables at the Great Hall. Yeah, they never tell you that in the movies.
So wait a minute.
Yes. Yes.
I can hear the thought process.
So when all the food,
you can hear the gears going.
So when all the food appears on the plates, he's teleporting it up from this dungeon society under the school where all these elves are slaves.
I don't know if it's the dungeon
food.
society. I think it's more like all the house elves are making the food, and they don't just make food out of nowhere. I feel like that might have been a question that might come up later.
Dungeon. There's a dungeon.
Well, dungeon
that locks up all the house elves and forces
maybe it's not dungeon. It might just be a kitchen underneath the Great Hall. I just know that
slaves,
it's
do
a
they
separate
get paid, or
I don't know. I don't think they're not slaves though. I don't think that's what it is. I'm very shoddy on like what happens in the middle of the series book wise because it's been a while. But
I don't remember the house elves being the ones from Hogwarts, but they're not in the film, so that's probably why I've forgotten them.
Maybe in the Wizarding world.
Because Hermione, I remember Hermione tells them that it's like book 4 or 5, where they're like, you know where all the food comes from, don't you? It's the house elves that make the food, which isn't inherently a bad thing because there's one, I think his name's Creature, that we do meet later who does not mind being a house elf. In fact, he's actually not a very nice person. He's kind of a racist.
Creature's a kid.
Yeah, we meet later. He's like Hermione's like felt my mud blood. Anyways, but
well, maybe
I think because it is such a...
Maybe in the Wizarding world, the elves are counted as animals, so the same shady ethics kind of cover them. They cover what they do to all the animals.
Shady ethics is because people do care about animals in the Wizarding world. We see Hagrid is very accustomed to animals, and owls are not considered, owls are like dogs sometimes in the Wizarding world, and Ron, people have animals as pets in the Wizarding world, the same as the regular world. It's the same world, just the different aspects of it. Hit my mic again, anyways.
Yeah, because I think that the whole house elf slavery thing is it's so not right. They just leave it out of the films for the most part, with the exception of like Dobby and Creature. They don't mention Hogwarts, house elves, slavery, dungeon society.
I just like that fact, this great school with all this fantastic food. It's all made by house elves.
If they made it that like only evil wizards have the elf slaves, then you'd be like, oh, okay. But if even the good ones have it in the school, that's pretty dodgy.
What's your impression of Severus
Especially
Snape?
considering that in Ron Weasley's house, I remember that scene where they arrive at the start of the second movie.
Yes.
He's enchanted all the stuff, and the pots and pans are like cleaning themselves.
They're cleaning themselves.
You literally don't need slaves because you could just.
But then that asks the question of, are the pots and pans now alive because they're now cleaning themselves, which I don't think we need to get into right now.
The way that house elves,
you know,
the way the house elves are presented, at least in Chamber of Secrets, is that it's just another way for asshole wizards to be assholes.
Yeah.
To make them even more villainous than they already are. At least in terms of Lucius Malfoy.
Dobby seems pretty powerful, though. He can teleport around.
Yeah.
No, they're magical creatures.
Why
they
are they
just
put
got
up
allowed
with it
to
then?
attack
They could
their
fight
masters.
back easy.
Like I said, I think they don't mind being house elves. I think that's just the way they are. Anyways,
without getting incredibly nerdy, the reason they don't fight back is because there's something in the Harry Potter books about there's like a whole law, there's a whole there's a legislation and things like that house elves have to follow. Like they can't attack their masters, they have to obey them at all times and stuff like that. So they can't fight back even though they do have their own form of magic. But this is entirely in the book.
It's not relevant.
So slavery is actually protected under wizard law.
That's not relevant, but here's what is relevant, Banta. Here's my question to you. Please, let's move on. Please, we can't. Here's my question. What is your impression of Severus Snape?
I actually kind of like him.
Okay.
I like the cut of this guy's jib.
Yeah, well, like,
okay.
I mean,
I'm just asking.
in the first movie, like, your impression of him is, I was like, oh, he's just the bad guy. But then it turns out he's not. He's actually one of the good guys. And in the second one, you sort of see he's like, I suppose he's a bit of an anti-hero. He seems like it. Like, he's still got, like, that villain style, and he still does some nasty stuff here and there. But overall, like, he does stick up for Harry Potter. Like, when the cat's petrified, he's the only one talking any common sense of, like, hey, you know, maybe they just walked down the hall and found it. You know?
Yeah.
So
well,
he's kind of like a bad guy, but he's sort of like our bad guy at the moment.
Okay,
maybe he turns full bad guy later on. I don't know. But
Trilbee, we will keep our mouths shut.
Yes.
We will keep our mouths shut, Trilbee. We will not say anything else about Severus Snape.
Ladies and gentlemen, join us next week on Snape Watch 2016.
Make Hogwarts great again. Turn to Patreon.
I think Chamber of Secrets, the thing that kind of stuck out to me on a repeat viewing was how it's trying to be like a murder mystery, but without the murder. Yeah. And I think one person should have died. One person, but it just so happens that all of these people just so happen to have been petrified and not killed, even though they build up how the snake could kill everyone.
I think it works because we see that death is not something that may be as, you know, because in these first two films at least, you know, the only really, really serious intense of death that we see is Harry's parents. So, you know, we see them
They got
killed.
Batmaned.
Yeah, you really did. And so
I was going to say that the cowardly teacher died, but he didn't, did he? He just got his memory erased because he used Ron's.
Oh, yeah.
So he didn't.
But
Kenneth Branagh.
And so my thing is, I think they treat death in these first couple of films, and this changes as it goes on. I promise you. They treat death more as, it's a thing that happens. Let's not worry about it, because, you know, Moaning Myrtle
death is a minor
was
inconvenience.
Killed. Yeah, Moaning Myrtle is the ghost, because we see a bunch of ghosts in the school that just happen to stay there. You know, like Moaning Myrtle in the restroom. She was killed by the snake, by the basilisk. Yes, great, as nearly headless Nick. It's great because I remember reading all the.
Wait a minute,
to be a ghost.
Did he die in the second one?
John Cleese.
Yeah.
No, he was petrified.
Oh, okay. So
because he was already dead, so a ghost can't be killed by something that's already. Are you really going to question the logic of ghosts in a fantasy world?
But a ghost can be petrified. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of.
All right.
So can all wizards become ghosts? Because then death is kind of irrelevant if that's true.
All right. So. All right.
Let's not get into that.
Please, I honestly do not have an answer to that. I was going to try to BS my way through that explanation, so thank you.
I did think, though, like, with that teacher who's sort of like the new Master of Dark Arts, because the last Master of Dark Arts had, like, Voldemort in his head. Was that him, or was it Snape?
What? No, that was... No, Snape didn't have...
That was Quirrell.
Yeah, that was Quirrell.
Okay.
Snape is the one that they thought was the bad guy.
So now both... In the first two movies, the Master of Dark Arts has kind of been a bad guy. So is the next Master of the Dark Arts teacher a bad guy as well?
You'll find out.
We cannot say gosh darn thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I did think with that cowardly dude. What's his name? The
Professor Quirrell.
No.
The award-winning grin who's always
Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah, Lockhart.
Lockhart. Yeah. I did that. I was like, they should have got a better-looking guy for that. Like, they should have put like John Hamm as that guy or something.
Kenneth Branagh's good looking.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kenneth Branagh's not a bad looking guy.
That sort of like
really.
late 30s, early 40s good looking.
He's a good looking, like,
They
British.
should have got someone like Arnie Hammer or something who'd be like, my
He's
award-winning
by
smile.
British standards.
Armie Hammer wasn't a thing in 2002, Bandit. Kenneth Branagh was just running off Shakespeare in Love, wasn't he in that? I feel like he was in. Oh, hold on, excuse me. Hello, I'll be back. In 2-3 minutes. I apologize.
Okay, so until now, it's Trey's turn to be away from Mike, I guess. Until Trey gets back.
You'll say
What I
we've all
thought
done
would have
that
been
at some
great
point.
is sorry, what?
We've all been away from the mic at some point. I did it during Stranger Things talk.
That's right, it's true. Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
That's for the podcast of that. You know, there's a bit where Ron Weasley, his wand gets snapped at the beginning of the second movie, and he sort of tapes it back together. And
Yeah.
I thought they were setting up, because then throughout that, every time he tries to do a spell, he hits himself with it.
Yeah.
So I thought they were setting that up for a thing at the end, where when he taped it together again, he taped it back to front. You know what I mean? So that's why he was hitting himself with the wand all the time. So I was expecting that, like when the bad guy erases his own memory, Ron was going to be like, I'm starting to think I taped that together back to front, or something like that. But they never did it. Yeah.
Well, it's quite well set up, isn't it?
Yeah.
He steals the wand and then it backfires because it's been doing it throughout the course of the film, but he doesn't know that. Yeah, so it's quite well set up.
Yeah. But again, they had it was a good sort of mystery, like in the way that they sort of had red herrings in the first movie, they had red herrings in this one, because you think that Harry Potter is going to turn out to be the heir of Slytherin, which he kind of is. I mean, he is, but he's not the one who's triggering the monster sort of thing.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot more connection to Slytherin than he likes to admit. He can talk to snakes, he's got that connection with Voldemort, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh no, I'm an asshole all along. Oh no. What have I done?
I was a little bit unsure, though, at the bit where Dumbledore's like, I know you didn't do this, but is there anything you need to tell me? And he doesn't tell him that he's hearing voices. Yeah.
But apparently, because isn't hearing voices even in the wizard world, isn't that just really not right?
Yeah.
That's where they draw the line. That's where they draw the line.
Yeah.
It's not house elf slavery. It's not back to front ones.
Really, they shouldn't draw the line there, because there's probably a lot of instances where they hear voices.
Yeah.
They've got literal ghosts floating around that school. It wouldn't be that unusual for people to suddenly hear voices.
I've almost forgotten Chamber of Secrets. Is that where he goes to Nocturne Alley where he uses the green powder and he goes to the wrong place.
He goes to the wrong one. And
Triagony.
That's it. Yeah. But I had this whole conversation with my nephew. I was like,
"Hello."
Why? I had this whole conversation with my nephew during that scene. I was like, "Why doesn't he just fireball them?" He's like, "Oh, he doesn't know that." And I was like, "Lightning?" He's like, "Oh, he doesn't know that." I'm like, just what about that thing where you just freeze them and they fall over? He's like, oh, he doesn't know that. I was like, oh. Then later on, the girl does Immobilis and freezes all the gypsies in the room. And I was like, why didn't he do that in the alley? And my nephew's like,
he doesn't know that.
Works on animals. And I'm like, I really covered all the bases here.
See, your nephew
for people like you that overthink everything. Or CinemaSins that just tear these movies apart for no reason. God,
it is kind of strange that they haven't taught the kids some basic self-defense stuff. It took this monster petrifying several students before they're like, maybe we should teach them how to fight off evil magic. Yeah, maybe you should. Well, maybe you should.
Well, because the Defense of the Dark Arts teacher have all been pretty much crap in the from what we've seen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and not to spoil anything, Bandit, but that's going to be a recurring joke over the next couple of films. They just can't lay down a proper defense against the dark arts teacher.
Trilbee, please.
What?
You gotta subvert those expectations, man.
He's already had 2 films of it.
Yeah, you got to keep them guessing, man.
It's not like I'm going to spoil the. It's not like I'm going to spoil the main twist that Snape is Harry Potter's father.
Oh. Well, you might as well have then.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
He's really not.
A cool twist. Because I was like, then who was the guy in the mirror?
Snape pulls off a mask. Turn to page 94, Potter.
I do have to admit, though, in the first movie, I thought they were going to say that, your parents are still alive or something like that. But they didn't.
Turns out that Filch.
No, they're long dead.
Filch is Hermione's dad. There we go.
Who's Filch?
The caretaker.
Oh, yeah, right. There we go. Well, of course. He's a good-looking man.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
So yeah, I did kind of enjoy the second movie more, and like you can see it's based on a book story because there is like you can see someone like as opposed to like other movies like Suicide Squad, you can see in this someone did actually think it through in the books, like the whole thing from the first movie where the hat that decides what house you're in, it wants to put him in Slytherin, but he says no, and then it puts him in Gryffindor, and that changes in this one, like it follows over that he should have been in Slytherin. Like, see, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see that
it also helps. It also helps that the book series was like 4 or 5 books in before they actually started making the film, so they were able to get a head start on what would be important later on. Like there were a few characters in the very last film that I'm sure the filmmakers would have like loved to have known that those characters would be important much later on, so they could set them up earlier in the films. But
you're talking about Neville? You're talking about Neville?
Not Neville. I'm talking about not really a spoiler. Dumbledore's got a family member, comes later on in the film, who just comes right out of nowhere. Yeah, it's not a spoiler thing, but it would have been one of those things where the filmmakers might have been like, "Hey, J.K. Rowling, why couldn't you have let us know about that?"
Speaking of Dumbledore, like the thing is, well, apparently, you know what? I can't bring it up. It's something about Snape. But anyways, apparently,
Dumbledore, the actor died in between movies, and they recast him. Which movie did the guy die after? Was it?
It was after Chamber of Secrets. So next time you come to the podcast, there's going to be a new Dumbledore.
Well, I actually like better than Richard Harris.
Like Richard Harris is so great at, like, we'll get to this later, but Richard Harris is really great at being a really warm, welcoming person who you just want him to be your headmaster because you know he'll listen to you and he'll take the time of day to like talk to you about whatever you want, and he's got so much experience. Whereas the one that comes later on, he's the one you want in a fight.
He's the Dumbledore that when you read Dumbledore in the book, you're like, oh, I think more of Michael Gambon than I do Richard Harris. But speaking of Dumbledore, when they announced that they were doing Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I was kind of like, really? That's the spinoff they're going to do? Because I would have much rather loved to have seen a Dumbledore movie or movie about Harry Potter's parents, because we learn more about the world itself as the movies and books go along. But so when they do reveal certain things about certain characters, I'm like, I would love to see that movie. I think you might. I don't know if you agree with me on that, Trilbee. Maybe I don't know. I feel like they reveal certain things in the books that I think that would have worked as a great film. Yeah.
Actually,
that's neither here nor there.
On that, because Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is why we're going over the Harry Potter movies leading up to it, that's based off Neville Longbottom?
No.
Okay, right. There's a... I feel like
we've had this conversation before for like 20 minutes.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is a book that is a fictional textbook that is in this world. Like when they go to Defense Against the Dark Arts or something, the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is one of the books that they should be reading on that course or in those lessons. Like when they go to Diagon Alley to get their textbooks and their wands and everything, Fantastic Beasts is a book that you can get on one of those bookshelves.
Yeah.
And then the film is based off of the adventures of the author of that book.
Newt Scamander, not Neville. Neville Longbottom is the kid that Hermione petrifies in movie 2 or 1. Which one?
So he's not the guy in the Fantastic Beasts movie, because I thought he was, and I was like, I can't remember anything about that guy, Neville Longbottom.
Yeah.
Like other than
Neville,
she
Neville
freezes
Longbottom's
him
a different
for
character.
some reason, and that's apparently something. Like I didn't even know who he was in the movie at that point.
He was just a kid that.
What, Neville Longbottom?
Yeah, he's just a kid that goes, and that's also in Gryffindor. That's all you need to know.
He gets a medal as well at the end, at the medal ceremony.
He doesn't get a medal, he gets points, but whatever, yeah. It's not Star Wars, Bandit.
Would it be funny if Neville
ceremony.
Longbottom gets a medal, but Chewbacca doesn't?
Well, you do have your Chewbacca. It's that giant guy with a massive beard. He's your Chewbacca.
Yeah, Hagrid is the Chewbacca.
I can see the connection between Hagrid and Chewbacca, yeah. Can we all just agree on one thing? No matter what we say when it's over, can we all agree on one thing? That Draco Malfoy is literally the worst. I hate him so much. They got Tom Felton to get the actor that plays him. He's such a punchable face. Never wanted to punch a kid in the face so much.
I actually like him because he's always challenging Harry. He's like, prove yourself, and I'm like, yeah, Harry, prove yourself.
Oh God, no wonder we don't get along. You're bloody Malfoy. you would side with Malfoy in that situation. First of all,
yeah, I probably would.
He's not.
He
doesn't want Malfoy. Because first of all, Malfoy's not proved himself at all. So Malfoy is just as bad as Harry in your eyes. All right, because all Malfoy's done is just born into a rich family. You want to talk about being born into stardom? He was born into a rich family that has a lot of money and power in the government.
Yeah, but he's
he
a
hasn't
better
done
magician
anything
than Harry is. He works harder at it.
That's
than
not
Harry
true.
Does.
He kicked. That's not true. He kicked Malfoy's butt in the second movie. Rictum Sempra, and he sent Malfoy across the room, like farther than Malfoy sent Harry.
Yeah, but that's
and then
only
Harry
because he was channeling Voldemort. Like he didn't earn
what?
that. He was given to him.
He wasn't.
What are you talking about? No, he was.
Yeah, because remember Dumbledore at the end, he's like, "Oh yeah, you've got the power of Voldemort in you."
That's not what that means. That's not
so
what that
it's
means.
kind of like cheating, really.
That's not what that means. That's not all what that means.
Okay.
Him having Voldemort being a part of him is not. He just happens to be a better wizard, and he's able to beat Malfoy in a fight because Malfoy's all talk and no bite, and you'll see that as the films go on. Yeah, Malfoy sucks, and he's the worst. Hopefully,
I think we know what house Bandit would be in.
Absolutely, Ravenclaw. It's boring.
No, I'm Ravenclaw.
Always overthinking things, but always being the intelligent one. Just boring. No one ever likes. No, I'm kidding, Ben.
Say Trey. Everyone knows that's me.
I'm definitely in Slytherin. To be honest with you, just because I'm cynical. But I thought but then again, Bandit might be in Slytherin because he's just.
Yeah, I was thinking Bandit would be in Slytherin.
I don't know. I would put him in
Slytherin.
Gryffindor.
Are like the Lannisters, aren't they? They've got the hair and everything.
Yeah, kind of.
Gryffindor's like the Starks. They're all kind of losers, you know.
No, you're wrong because I'm pretty sure Dumbledore was a Gryffindor, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure if I remember that correctly.
They're kind of the only two houses anyone knows about.
Yeah, they really go into Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw more in the novels, but you don't need to know about them. Don't worry about them. Just know that.
But yeah, Newt Scamander in Fantastic Beasts, he was a Hufflepuff.
Yeah. Anyways,
what
would you
question is like at the start of the second movie, like the movie ends where he's like, "I'm not really going home, not really," and my thought was like, why are they sending him back to that horrible family at all? Why doesn't he just stay at the school? And then, of course, second movie starts with funny stuff like comedy from all that evil family. But I was like, why is he even there at all? Is there a reason later on why Dumbledore is like, I'm deliberately sending you there?
Yes.
You know,
give it another film or two. I can't remember what film.
It's 4. It's 4.
But trust me, the films ask the same question as you.
Yeah, it's 4. Yeah, by the time you get to like book 4 and 5, Harry's on your track where he's just like, what the hell, Dumbledore? What's going on? Why am I still with the Dursleys? And Dumbledore's like, reasons I can't explain now, Bandit, which means I can't tell you what Dumbledore says because it's a spoiler. But you know what? No, we'll save it for when you watch the movies, Bandit. You know what I'm really excited for, Trilbee?
What?
5 and 6. Because if Bandit wasn't a fan of these two movies, I don't like 5 and 6, so I don't know how he's going to handle those. It's just going to be him complaining for an hour and a half.
I like all of them. I have a feeling next week is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, 3 and 4? Yeah, 3 and 4 are my favorites. I love those. Is that what we're
doing next week? I thought we were doing Ben.
I thought. I think we're doing Ben-Hur next week, and then sometime we'll come back to Harry Potter though. We'll give Bandit a break. These are some time investors.
Let's double them up. Let's not do one each week because it'll take way too long.
That's fine.
Bandit's only saying that because he's not enjoying himself. That's okay. But if I said let's do an episode of Terminator Genesis, you'd be all for that.
4 weeks to this. Okay, that's enough.
To an 8
counting
saga.
Fantastic Beasts.
But I think pairing them up.
We're gonna devote 6 weeks to Star Wars when it's all said and done. So it's
but I think pairing them up actually works out well because Philosopher's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, they're by the same director. They do have a more kid-friendly tone, and then the next two go into darker, much more interesting directions, which set up the stage for the final four. And then Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince. That is not going to get into spoilers.
Trash.
And then Deathly Hallows is split up into 2 films. So pairing them up makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how Bandit handles Deathly Hallows Part 1 because I feel like that's a divisive Harry Potter film. It's one of my favorites, but I'm excited to see how Bandit takes it.
So,
Well, I'm
are
looking
we going
forward
for
to seeing Harry Potter in the next one now that he's got his own elf slave, Dobby.
That's not how that
He'll be like,
works.
shine my
That's not at
shoes,
all.
Dobby, do it!
Dobby's definitely a free elf. Dobby definitely does not have a master. But anyways, unless you were just joking
So
and trying to troll
he's
me.
being a slave to Harry out of choice, so that makes it okay?
He's not being a slave to Harry. He's just letting me. He's like, hey, man, I'm gonna watch out for you. That's exactly what
so
he
he's just a
said.
friend. Cool.
He's just there. He's like, now we're friends. All right.
He's just a pathetic guardian angel.
Harry's like, I'm going to lock
Shirley.
you under the staircase now, Dobby. So,
Hey, Dobby, I've
The
got
cycle
a lovely place
continues.
with you.
It's got a light and a wall. You can hit her head on and everything. Yeah.
It would be funny if later on in the films, if Harry moves out of the Dursleys, Dobby gets Harry's room, Dobby gets his own house elf, and then that house elf lives under the stairs.
It's like Uncle Tom's Cabin. This is non-ending cycle of just like racism
Then
left
the
with
house
the other.
elf gets a house elf. Then that house elf gets a house elf. It's like a babushka of house elves,
Okay, so here's my thing. Right? Okay, since we're pretty much done Harry Potter. We're 2.5 hours in,
I am
roughly.
kind of looking forward to watching the third one, though. I want to see them get out of the school and do some more magical stuff. And I was looking forward to them getting out of the school and seeing more of this magical world. But now that I know it's just Earth, I don't know how they're going to do that. Be interesting to see.
Well, here's my thing, Bandit. You do get to see more of the magical world, but that just because it's on Earth doesn't mean that you can't see magical things, because things can look different. Because remember, Muggles can't usually see these. All right, you know what? I'm done explaining the world to you. All right, so
when does he lose his nose, Voldemort? Which movie?
There's not a specific scene dedicated to the loss of his nose.
Oh, really?
It's just what his face looks like.
I always
That's just
thought
what
they're going to do Harry shoots his nose off with a laser or something. It was like Patromo and shoots his nose off or something.
Patromo! Expecto Patromo! Patronos!
I think we've got our animated segment.
No! Patronos! Yeah.
Oh, yeah, are we doing ratings out of 10?
I sure. Bandit's really drained my enthusiasm. Oh my god.
Don't worry, I'm sure I'll get lots of hate. Look, I'm sorry
Please.
I'm sorry if you're a fan of it. I don't hate it. I get it. I understand why you like it. It's just
It's not
they
a
forced
fact
me to
that-
watch it, and I knew I probably wouldn't like it. So what do you expect?
It's not the fact that you don't like it. If you didn't like it, so I think it's the fact that you're trying to make sure everyone else doesn't like it as well by pointing out all its usually not big of a deal problems that you think it has because you haven't seen all of the movies yet.
No,
It's like
I
that's
do like them. I'm
ultimately
just
what's
giving you a
getting to me.
different perspective.
No, that's not all. That's
I'd
not
be
all that's
interested-
happening here.
I'd be interested how you felt about the films if you watched them when they first came out.
Yeah.
Because they're more products of their time that might not have aged incredibly well. But I don't think some of the problems you're saying are ones... Because they're not specific to the plot, ones
get
that you're
better as they
pointing
go.
out.
Like three's, I really like 3. I think hopefully you'll really enjoy 3. If
Don't
not, I
hype it
don't
up
know
too much.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. But if I don't know if you don't like 3, I don't know how you're gonna like this franchise.
I wouldn't say they're dated. I mean, when you look at the CG, you can see it's dated. But apart from that, it doesn't seem dated, especially because like the real world and Harry Potter's world all seem to be set in the real world seems to be the 60s, and the Harry Potter world seems to be like the 19th century or something.
The olden times, yeah. But it's all set in the 90s. But you don't worry about that. That's just a thing if they happen to say.
Yeah.
But that okay. So, all right, guys. So we're done with it. What do you give the movies out of 10, Bandit? What do you rate the films?
I'd rate the first one probably a solid 6 out of 10, and the second one maybe a 7 out of 10. Just because.
All right. What about you?
Story-wise, it was expanding out a bit. So.
All right. What about you, Trilbee?
Even though the twist doesn't really make sense.
Shut up, Bandit. What about you?
For Philosopher's Stone, not Sorcerer's Stone, I give it a 8.
Right.
And for Chambler of Sauklotz, I give it... What? Oh, that's the English title. Like the next one, in America, it's called Prisoner of Azkaban. In the UK, it's called Prisoner of Azkaban to Ganserbust.
What?
What?
Are you making a joke? Sorry.
No, sorry, my eyes are blurring together because it's gone midnight here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm reading the titles wrong. No, Chamber of Secrets, I'm going to go for a 7 because I think it's still really solid. It just doesn't hold up as well as I thought it did.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, God, how many people could be petrified in completely elaborate different ways back to back? I know.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go 7.5 for. No, I'll push you to an 8 for Sorcerer's Stone because I feel like that setting up of the world and what this world is and how the characters all interact, and that John Williams score really hypes everything up kind of to another level for me. And then I think I'll go an 8, maybe like an 8.2. I don't want to go to 8.5 yet for Chamber of Secrets. I really enjoyed the mystery aspect. I thought the actors really stepped up their game child acting wise, because me and child actors don't usually get along. And I quite enjoyed the story behind it. I quite enjoyed Kenneth Branagh as Lockhart. I quite enjoyed the snake effects. They were pretty sweet. The spider bit, I was telling Trilbee while you were gone, Ben, the spider bit got to me that in ways that you can't even understand. That was like arachnophobia. That was like steroids. Ugh. All right. But yeah, overall, I really enjoy those first 2 films. I think it sets up the world beautifully. And I'm excited to see where Bandit goes with this universe. Oh, boy. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So we've got like 40 listener questions this week. So I feel like it's best to answer.
Do you want to skip it? Because Trey's really angry now.
No.
This
just might calm me down. It's like I feel like
through you. Good,
I feel like we should answer a couple. I feel like we should answer at least a couple of those. I'm gonna be even angrier listening back to this because I probably forgot some points. I'm gonna yell out to myself while you're giving your debate. So let's answer a couple of these listener questions here. So let's get to the listener questions.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
All right, guys, so this is the listener question portion of the show, in which case on the Facebook, Twitter, anywhere, you guys ask your listener questions. So, starting first on Facebook, Sam Gavin asks, Forgetting the sequels, do you think that there are more stories to be told in the Terminator series after T2, or would you stop it there entirely?
Hindsight is 20/20, isn't it?
Thank you, Captain Hindsight. What about you, Bandit? I figured this would be right up your alley.
Sorry, I was taking a bite of my sandwich.
Figured not. All right. So, no, sorry, Sam. The question was, forgetting the sequels, do you think there'd be more stories to be told in the series after T2, that being Terminator 2, or would you stop it there entirely?
I think the best approach would be, because obviously we know now that they shouldn't have made sequels after T2, but I think the best approach would be to have gone Future War, what led up to the events of Kyle Reese getting into the time machine and what led to Skynet sending the Terminator back. I think that would be the main story to tell, not as a continuation, but just sort of filling in that gap once technology advanced so that we could portray that future war for a good 2 hours on screen, as opposed to just loads of flashbacks. Except just don't have it in the desert.
Yeah. I think Bandit, you put out a video a while back when the Terminator 5 was like just in the woodworks, about how you would do it and how you would have it kind of be a time war set in different time periods. Yeah. Of how you have like sent Terminators like to the 60s and like the 20s and stuff. So you got like 19 gangsters versus the Terminators. Yeah. I like that idea a lot. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I agree.
Can you imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger at Woodstock? Oh, John.
What's going on here? I see colors. No, go ahead.
I see a burning man.
No, I think, I think the mistake of the movies after T2 was they tried to reclaim, the glory of T2, when really they should have, there's so much to the Terminator lore that's great, that you would love to see explored. Mm-hmm. And a lot of, the comic books do this. They go back and, explore sort of, there's sometimes they look at, stuff from, the Terminator's perspective. Mm-hmm. And, different time periods, and all the stuff with Skynet. There's so much to the lore that you could explore. So, yeah, to answer Sam's question, after Terminator 2, they should have just done something totally different, not tried to set it in our time of Terminators going after this important person. Should have moved on to other elements of the lore, I think.
Yeah, instead maybe not focus solely on the whole John Connor thing. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. That's a good idea, and I think I think that there's still a way to do that. I don't think that they're ever going to make a Terminator movie without Schwarzenegger now. Even after Genesis was, technically speaking, a failure in the eyes of Paramount,
cool,
most likely, because if it wasn't technically in the eyes of Paramount, because if it wasn't a failure, then they would have made a sequel already, or at least started working on it, which they have not. Anyways, but my point being, you were on the track there. All right, do you have a question on Twitter? Or
they could definitely make like a cool Netflix series around the Terminator mythos if they wanted. I'm sure they could.
Speaking of Netflix series, Sebastian Archer on Facebook asked, "Is TV better than film at the moment?"
Interesting, because there is a thing going on with I think Max Landis talked about this, that TV and like Netflix is kind of being seen as the last, like a lot of writers, like script writers, a lot of them see that as the last holdout for like clever adult kind of stories. Because a lot of them see that movies are, and it's not so much pandering to a younger demographic, but let's face it, movies on average tend to have to be a little bit dumber to get people in, but on TV you can kind of focus in on more like target one audience and come up with more like clever stories. So in that way, yeah, TV is kind of better than movies at the moment.
I think it's more of entertainment value than stupidity that puts people in the theaters, because there's a reason Inception makes so much money. Inception's not a really stupid movie. It's quite cerebral, actually. Interstellar did quite well, and that wasn't a super dumb movie. The Matt Damon bit wasn't great. But anyways, I'm not trying to disagree with you here. I do think that I'm not sure I would say TV is better than film at the moment. I do think that in many ways TV can be looked at as, oh, this is the format to go to now. I feel like whenever I recommend a movie or a TV show to someone, the question they always ask me is, oh, is it on Netflix? Which is weird, because if you go to Netflix, their selection is so limited. They don't have Star Wars. Like, it's like, that's a weird thing to me whenever someone's like, oh, have you seen this movie? It's like, oh, is it on Netflix? I'm like, no, because Netflix doesn't do movies like that. People think Netflix is like the new Redbox, which is kind of, it's not. Yeah. It's weird. But anyways,
I actually do think though that you can sort of say that Netflix and TV are kind of different animals in a way.
Yes, very much
like,
so.
I mean,
and I think they're different from network television or like
Like studies have come out that people under the age of 30, I think it is now, they don't watch TV. They watch YouTube, they watch Netflix, they stream stuff online.
I can attest to that.
They don't sit down and watch TV all that much.
No, not really. I think the one time I think I turn my TV on 3 times a year. I don't know what. So it's usually to watch the Oscars, watch some of the Olympics, because I like watching people fail, and I forget the third time. I think it's to watch cartoons, but it's neither here nor there.
Well, I guess for like your generation that grew up like with this whole digital era, like television, the idea of having to wait at a certain time, at a certain day of week to see a show, and then you have to sit there and wait during all the ad breaks, that must seem like Neanderthal for you.
Well, when growing up, I didn't get my first phone until I was in the 6th grade, which is 12 years old, and I was a flip phone, so I still had to watch TV. But growing up, being like 5 or 6, we still watched cartoons, Nickelodeon, SpongeBob, all that stuff. But by the time I got to like the 4th, 5th grade, I was pretty much just watching stuff online, watching YouTube videos, Minecraft, playing video games. Yeah, the whole, like, I don't know a lot of, I think cartoons are kind of the things that kids still watch these days, but even then I feel like kids kind of only watch one cartoon and then they go on their tablet or their phone to watch the rest. Like kids don't just turn on the TV to watch cartoons all day. Like they turn on their TV to be like, oh, hey, Steven Universe is on, let me watch Steven Universe. Oh, now let me watch my Minecraft YouTuber. That's just how I've seen things. I know people that have younger siblings, that's what they do. Then again, I can't speak for your nephew.
So I think because of that, like, as your generation gets older, it's going to be, obviously, TV is either going to be online more or transition more into like Netflix style of streaming shows, and that's going to change the way stories are told. Like just the way Netflix the whole binge watching phenomenon, totally foreign to like traditional TV. You can't do that on traditional TV. But Netflix, the way that you can watch like through a whole series of like Stranger Things in one shot, if you want to, which you have to do Trilbee by next week, so we can talk about it some other.
That's my thing. My thing is that I think it's going to take. It's going to take like the bigger studios like your NBCs, your CBSs, your ABCs. It's going to take those giant networks to start changing the way TV is done, because we get glimpses of good TV, and some people argue that the CW shows are really great. I can't seem to ever get through them, so maybe that speaks for their quality. Yeah. But like channels like HBO and AMC to a certain extent have been doing those kind of shows that break the boundaries of TV for a while now. They've been doing their Mad Men, their Game of Thrones, their Wires, for even to a lesser extent, their Sex and the Cities.
Way back,
Yeah. And so like CBS, they still put out 22 episodes a year of the same cop show, just in 18 different formats. You've oversaturated the market with these samey shows that people aren't watching anymore. They're canceling more and more CBS and NCI, not CBS, or CSI and NCIS, spin-offs in America, because no one's watching them anymore. A show like Person of Interest, which was a really great original series, I think only had 13 episodes in its first season, now went to 22, and suddenly no one's watching them anymore. So I think they're going to have to change their market.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like a lot of like older shows are sort of having a second rebirth on Netflix, like because like Netflix actually
they're failing from what I've read.
See, Netflix,
from what I've heard opinion wise from people.
Okay, yeah, but like Netflix, part of the way they decide what's actually going to be on Netflix is they actually have a look at what are people downloading on like the torrent sites, what TV shows. Mm-hmm. And like what example is they found throughout a lot of Europe, for some reason, Prison Break. A lot of people from Europe were downloading Prison Break. So they're like, okay, so they want to watch Prison Break, not enough to buy all the DVDs, so let's put it on Netflix. And I was like, is that why Prison Break keeps popping up on Netflix all the time? I don't want to watch it.
What's going on with apparently it's pretty great from what I've heard. But why isn't Game of Thrones, why is that not on Netflix? That's like one of the most watched TV shows ever.
Exactly.
And I guarantee that a huge chunk of people, myself included, will sometimes chappy it every now and then. I'm just saying, why isn't that on Netflix? It would have been a lot easier for you, HBO and Netflix, if you just put it on Netflix, and I would have binged it all 5 seasons, and then caught up on HBO.
Yeah. Or even if they want to keep the, like when the show starts and they have each episode, even if they want to keep that on like cable TV, just release like all the previous seasons, so that way people who want to get into it late can binge it all and they got it all there.
Yeah, that being said,
that'd be good.
Go ahead, Shelby. Go ahead.
I think what's happening with TV though is like a couple of years ago, you saw Netflix and Amazon greenlight these shows that would have never made it on TV, like Orange Is the New Black, BoJack Horseman, Extant, Transparent, House of Cards. These shows would never have made it on broadcast television, and because they've had massive success hitting these demographics or these people who want this entertainment, you're seeing TV start to compete more against that, which means that you get a better industry. Like Westworld is a show that I've not seen it yet, but the trailers look really good, and it's got big name stars, and it's like a show that never would have been made on TV a couple of years ago. But now they've got to compete with Netflix, they've got to create that high concept programming, so they've got to compete with each other, and it's a sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy of just TV's not good enough, but now TV's got to compete with this other thing, so it becomes good enough. And if that makes sense, they sustain each other.
Yeah, but they still have the problem. They still have the problem of their seasons being 22 episodes, which I think it calls for a lot of filler, and it calls for a lot of for TV. And it still calls for a lot of villain of the week or case of the week kind of material that can become very samey over the course of 8 seasons. There's no way that the writers of the Big Bang Theory can come up with fun stuff every Yes. Anyways, with that being said, the actual question of TV being better than film, I don't agree with, because I do think that I still would rather go watch a great movie than try to sit down and watch TV, because I think with movies are a 2 to 3 hour investment, 3 hours at max investment of your time. an energy of watching the story being told. TV, however, is very fickle in the sense that if you don't like a show and you're still continuing to watch it, you're wasting hours upon hours of your life. Hours being upwards, whether it be 8 hours, 16 hours, or 22 hours of your life still watching the show. But I don't think TV is better than film in the fact that film can tell stories in a shorter amount of time, especially if they're not good. What are you going to say, Shoutout?
There definitely is something to be said, though, that, I mean, just in this episode we talked about all the different movies that are failing at the box office, and it does seem to be that, like, the movies is just becoming the place where only the big blockbusters can really make it, which means that these smaller indie movies would probably have to go on something like Netflix more.
Well, it seems to me that if the movies had been better received, they would be doing a lot better, because it shows that if a movie is good quality or at least well loved, like a movie like your Deadpools, your Civil Wars, those movies that are well loved are doing better because people are choosing to come back. But I think we're now in the age of, I think that TV plays in the fact of, if the movie's not good, I can just go watch something on Netflix then. That's where that now lies. Instead of going to see Suicide Squad for a second time because that's the only thing you can do, you can just go binge House of Cards again for the fourth time, and you're like, you love that show.
And I think TV and film, they're both currently in a big wave of franchising, and in terms of getting reboots and bringing stuff back. Like you've had Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, Star Wars, and these other franchises that are coming back after a long hiatus. Like, I don't know what it's like in Australia or America, but in the UK, Robot Wars, it was a big show in the early 2000s, and that's just come back. Thunderbirds was a huge show in the 60s, and then it became popular in the 90s, and now it's come back again. Digimon is coming back. Dragon Ball has got a new series in Japan. We're getting
at least 4 movies here in the US. Dragon Ball, yeah.
Exactly. It's Red Dwarf in the UK is coming back again. That's broadcasting in September. You're having this new wave of old IP, of old intellectual property and franchises coming back to TV, and that might happen maybe every 20 or 30 years. So TV and film aren't quite as original or as unoriginal as the other. They both seem to be on the same page, and both have got high concept original content. Like you've got your Game of Thrones, and well, it's not really original, it's based off a book, but you know what I mean. Like you do have these big epics. Like you've got the big Marvel films for film, you've got Game of Thrones for TV. You do have these big events.
But I think go ahead, keep going.
I think that whether one is better than the other, it's kind of, it depends on how you want to consume something. I prefer movies because it's like one and then you're done, unless it's a franchise or if it's anything. But TV, one reason why something like Breaking Bad or maybe Stranger Things is that you are in that world for much longer. You're more attached to those characters for a much lengthier amount of time. It depends on what your free time is like. I have very little of it, which is why I'm not looking forward to watching 8 episodes of Stranger Things by the next podcast. My girlfriend's staring at me. I'm going to make you watch it with me. I'm going to make you watch it.
You'll love it, though. It won't be a chore.
No, he does.
I know I will, but it's about time. Do you know what time I got back from work on Friday? midnight.
Okay,
that's my work day.
Well, look, you don't have to watch it. Don't worry. Just
No, he does. So my thing with
feature
TV
presentation as well. He's not going to have time for all of it.
What is the feature presentation?
Next week? It's been not the new one, the original.
6 hours long.
Is it really?
Wait a minute. Are we talking about the new movie or the old movie?
I thought we were talking about the old movie. Are we talking about the new movie? I don't want to watch the new one.
Well,
can we just watch the old one?
Well, I figured
Charlton Heston film. It is bloody hell, 212 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
That's like 5 hours long.
That's 3.5 minutes. Or 3.5 minutes. It's 3.5 hours. That's 3 minutes. That's 3.5 hours. I'm not good at math. Okay?
That's why I thought we could get you to watch it, Trey, because if you haven't seen it before, you could give us your take on it.
Okay, well, we'll do that next week, but I wanted to keep answering the question, but I guess we're done here then. Never mind. We were having a good conversation about
we need to wrap up this podcast soon if we want to start watching Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
We're approaching 3 hours, so I'll be at the chariot race.
All right.
So look, thank you to this week's artist, everyone. You can see the lovely, lovely picture here, where Trey himself Now Trey has the amazing chiseled jaw and the chiseled face in this image.
That's not why I like the picture. That's not why.
Although, Trilbee, did you notice, like, after with our contest winner, when you said you wanted a thinner face, he actually did go back and thin your face and give you like the nice square jaw. Did you see
I did. That's awesome. Yeah, I look like Schwarzenegger.
We're this week.
Just the jaw.
Week's now it's your job. Yeah, your turn, Trey.
I like the picture because it's black and white and it looks like a movie poster. That's not why. All right. Anyways.
Yeah, I like that one too. This was from massive supporter of the podcast, Bruno Franco. You guys recognize that name, right? He's put in a number of listener questions, comments on the Facebook page very often. Found out he's actually in Brazil. Brazil. So there you go. We got Brazilian.
I hope you're doing okay, Mr. Franco. I know there's been an event going on there, and I hear it's not the best of times down there. There in the Brazil land. I hope you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the work you do. Yeah, thank you for all the work that you do, and we always appreciate. We appreciate when anyone sends us anything. It's always well done. It's always awesome to see that you guys love us so much. It makes my day brighter, and I do love the picture you sent in, Mr. Franco. And again, hope you're doing all right down there in Brazil. What the thing that we can't mention on the show. Okay, so. Yeah, I think that being said, thank you guys all for watching. This has been the Movie Mania podcast, where we were talking Harry Potter and trying to defend its actually non-flaws from Bandit.
I don't hate it.
Trilbee,
I'm just asking questions.
Where can people find you?
You can find me in the Ravenclaw Common Room. You can also find me on Twitter at Trilbee Reviews, on Facebook at Mr. TARDIS Reviews, on my website, trilbee.com, and of course you can find me on YouTube's at those similar names. It's half past midnight here. I've given up.
This is not the latest we've had you out, Trilbee. We had you out here till past 1 once. Anyways.
Oh, that was fun.
Well, our listeners can find me in the Slytherin dormitories. Beating
they can find you in the Chamber of
flames.
Secrets playing with your snake friends.
Yeah, they can find you in the Chamber of Secrets, just chilling with the basilisk. Yeah,
that's right.
Killing gingers left and right. Yeah, where can they find you?
Can check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as Bandit Incorporated. And you, Trey.
They can find me holding the sword of Godric Gryffindor, about to take out Bandit for crippling this franchise I love so much. It's near and dear to my heart. And you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Podcast Media. All right,
I thought you were going to say that. They can find me at the Owlery kissing Cho Chang.
I hate Cho Chang. Don't you dare. I hate her so much. She is the worst. Anyways.
Slytherin forever. There we go.
No. Hashtag Godric Gryffindor. Anyways, yeah, join us next week when we talk Ben-Hur, whichever version you guys want to talk about, and join you later on Movie Maniacs.